Okay, good evening, everyone. We are here this evening for the Village of Airmont Planning Board meeting Thursday, August 25th via Zoom at 7 p.m. Chairman, would you like to call the meeting?
Yes,
to
well, I'd
order?
like to call this meeting to order. Yeah, 7:03 p.m. If everyone would please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Oh my gosh, I got to get my flag. Hold on. I forgot that.
Oh,
Sorry.
Usually John has it on standby.
It's okay. I have it right here. Okay.
well, there we go. Okay, if everyone would
Pledge
stand, please.
allegiance to the flag
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States
of
of America
and to
and
the
to the republic
for
for which it stands,
one nation,
one
nation,
nation,
under God,
under
under
God,
God,
indivisible,
indivisible,
with
with
liberty
liberty
and
and
justice.
justice.
for all.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Okay, I'm going to do the roll call. Chairman Freeland,
Here,
member Cornelius. He can't hear, but I see him. Member Grinberger,
Yeah.
ad hoc member Glauber.
Here.
Okay, and ad hoc member Blumenberg.
Here.
Okay,
okay, so I'd like to designate Mr. Blumenberg and Mr. Glauber as voting members tonight, because we're two
yeah, we're
Members
missing,
short. Maurice and Morris. are not
yes,
here tonight.
member Roth and member,
Friedman.
yes, are both absent this evening.
Okay,
Okay, the next item is the continued public hearing for Yeshiva Eitzheim Skill Building Center, who requested an adjournment to the September 22nd, 22 Planning Board meeting. They sent a memo on August 15th requesting an adjournment. And I did let them know the next time they submit, I do need, at least 30 days to resend out. I don't know what changes they're making, but because it's been so long, we might need to resend out for comments depending on what they're submitting. So I just. know that.
Suzanne, I don't mean to interrupt you. So if the chairman could make a motion to open up the public hearing, this way we can continue it.
Oh, okay.
And
thank
all
you.
of this is in the record.
Okay. Thank you.
okay, so I'll
I
make a
know
motion.
it's an annoying formality, but we have to do it.
Okay.
Okay, am I opening the public hearing or continuing the public hearing?
You're opening.
You're opening the continued, right?
Yeah.
And that goes for all the applications tonight? Or will each one have to be open?
This is the
separately?
only continued one. The other ones are regular public
opening.
hearings. You're opening them.
Okay, so I make a motion to open the public hearing to continue the public hearing. And to adjourn. Right, it's one motion?
So Mr. Chairman, you would make a motion to open the public hearing. Then there would be a vote on that. And then we would adjourn once the public hearing is open.
Okay. Okay, so I'll make the motion to open the public hearing. This is for Yeshiva Eitzheim Skill Building Center at 99 Oratam, 98 100 Hillside Avenue.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Okay,
So
so
I'll
now
make it-
Suzanne, you can say what it was you wanted to say. I'm
Oh,
sorry.
all I was going to say is I did advise the applicant that they should please try to submit 30 days prior, because depending on the number of changes over the period of time, I may need to send out for additional comments, but I don't know what those changes are. So they are aware, and I sent them an email for the record.
Okay. Yeah, it's been a while. Okay, so I'll make the motion to adjourn this public hearing to the September 22nd, 2022 Planning Board meeting.
And the time?
Well, I think we decided 7 o'clock
Right.
either way. So it'll be 7 p.m. either via Zoom if the governor's ruling remains, or in person at the Village Hall. The address of which I always forget.
251 Cherry Lane.
251 Cherry
And a
Lane.
time.
It'll be
7
7
p.m.
o'clock regardless. It'll be 7 p.m. either way.
I'll
Have a second.
second.
Thank you, Mordecai.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay. Okay. The next application is the public hearing for Bonus of Muncie LLC at 100 Route 59 for the special permit for a proposed school of special instruction. They submitted a proposed layout plan, bus and fire circulation plan, and a number of comment memos.
Okay, so I'll make the motion to open the public hearing for Venosa Muncie LLC.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Don't we want to hear from our,
Yeah,
don't we
yeah.
want to hear from our engineers first?
Oh, so 1 second. Did I do it the wrong way? Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, but-
let's hear the engineers and everybody else first, and then we'll discuss it, then go with the public hearing.
If I may, there was a supplemental memo I just received maybe a half an hour ago. So I sent it to everyone, but I'll let John speak to everything because there have been several letters from the engineers and planners.
Before I do that, typically the applicant just gives a brief presentation to the public so they have an idea of what this project's all about. Then I can get into my comments, so at least the public has an idea of what I'm talking about. So it's probably, unless I'm mistaken, typically the applicant will just give a brief presentation to the public on what this project is.
With pleasure.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Baum.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. My name is Paul Baum. I'm an attorney with Sarajian and Baum. We represent Venosa Muncie. The applicant is a religious corporation, and they're seeking to establish a school of special instruction for girls that are 14 to 17 years of age that really don't perform well in a traditional high school setting. The school environment will focus on teaching and developing technical skills and other particularized studies to equip the girls with skills that they need. These are girls that have been unusually hard by the COVID-19 pandemic. And they really need some extra help, some extra counseling, and some small group study. And they just, they can't really thrive in a traditional high school setting. So this school was developed to help these girls get through the troubles that they've had with the COVID-19 impacts. The applicant has found a location at 100 Route 59. It's in the LO zone. From looking, this is one of the only 2 zones in the village that allow this type of use. It's only allowed in the LO zone and the VC zone. And they were fortunate enough to find it in a building that had a tenant that engaged in a very similar use. It was the Lexington Center.
Listening.
And the Lexington Center provided multi-service clinic offering services for the community members and counseling, educational session, planned group activities, yoga, recreation, and daily meals. And the applicant's going to be providing similar type specialized educational instruction and counseling as the Lexington Center did. And they were able to move right into their spot, which is perfectly suited for them. So we're here to, we came before you on July 28th for the informal discussion, and there were a lot of comments. And I know my partner, Richard Sarajian, was on at that time, and he said, give us a chance to get all the information in to show you that this use is appropriate for this location, and that the impacts from this use are not significant, and they're really less than a use that's provided as of right. So what we did is on August 3rd, we submitted a supplemental narrative that addressed a lot of the comments from the Rocklin County Sewer District, the Tolman Fire Department, the Rampo DPW, the Rocklin County Department of Planning, and the memo from Fusco Engineering. We also addressed in that narrative compliance with the general permit requirements for a special permit. We provided an updated floor plan with the square footage of each room so as to permit the building inspector to determine occupancy loads. We submitted the approved site plan that was approved for Castle Properties back in 1996 pursuant to which the site was developed, or actually there was only modifications made at that time. I think the original site plan was approved, I think under the town of Ramapo. And that was signed by Mr. Cornelius, who was the chairman back in 1996. We submitted a survey of the property, and we submitted circulation plans for a standard fire truck and a minibus. We submitted a corrected application form and an updated SEAF Part 1 with the EF mapper information detected. We met with the CDRC again on August 9th. And as a result of that meeting, we submitted another supplemental narrative on August 19th. This narrative addressed the issues raised at the CDRC meeting and some additional comments that we received from Fusco Engineering, the fire inspector, and the Tolman Fire Department. We submitted an updated floor plan showing how the rooms are proposed to be utilized by the school. We submitted another circulation plan for a conventional size school bus. And then we submitted another circulation plan for the fire department's Pierce 20 tower truck. We've also contacted the building and fire inspector to try and make arrangements for an on-site inspection as they had requested. And I do not know as of now whether those inspections have occurred. And we received additional comments from the Rocklin County Highway Health Department, which had no comments, an email from New York State DOT, the fire department, and from Fusco Engineering. So we continue to object to some of the comments of Fusco Engineering and the Rocklin County Department of Planning, which we'll be glad to go through tonight. But what we're asking is that the board waive the requirement for a new site plan and override the comments of the county in their GML review. Classify this action as a type 2 action under SECRA and not subject to any further environmental review. And we're asking you to waive the requests of the DOT for a traffic impact study and to grant the special permit to this applicant so they can open in September. So that's what we're seeking in a nutshell. I'm happy to answer any questions of the board members. Otherwise, we can address the comments of Fusco Engineering and the Department of Planning and the other agency reviews.
Mr. Baum, did you get the most recent Fusco Engineering report from about an hour ago?
Yes, I did.
I think it addressed one of the two of the things that you had objected to.
So in their new memo of today, or yesterday, I guess it stated, the 24th, they agree that we are a type 2 action and that the short form environmental assessment form is acceptable. They do agree that review by SHPO is not required at this time. They are requesting still site plan for the fire apparatus, but we have submitted the circulation plan for the fire apparatus. I know the fire department wanted a large size copy, and I know that was submitted to Suzanne earlier this week. And I assume it was been submitted to the fire department, but
Yes, it
other than
was.
that- Other than that, they had no other comments to our circulation plan. The DOT has weighed in and they are requesting that a traffic report be prepared for the change of use to determine whether any mitigations are needed in the roadway. We would like the board not to do that. I mean, I think we've shown in our narrative that our demands are very low. We're talking about 4 to 5 minibuses coming into this location instead of, 40 cars for an office use. If this 8,000 square feet was dedicated to office, it would be another requirement of 40 cars. We don't have that sort of demand. We've got 4 or 5 buses and we have about 10 teachers and staff. that are going to be there initially, and then that's going to be changed throughout the day. So that, some will come, some instructors will leave, and it's really not any greater impact than an office use. So we really don't think that a traffic report is going to be particularly helpful, or that we need one. They want us to inspect the sidewalk to determine if it meets ADA standards and upgrade the sidewalks. Again, I don't think that introducing this new use into an existing space, into a fully developed building, really triggers anything to mandate that we upgrade sidewalks in front of the property. These children are not walking to school. They're not walking to the premises. They're going to be brought by bus. And they want us to identify the existing highway boundary. But I believe that's already been shown on the existing site plan, and I don't believe it's changed. Comment 5 from Fusco is to consider the Rocklin County Department of Planning's comments. And we have submitted our narrative on August 3rd that addresses all those comments, and we were looking for certain overrides from those comments, which we can get into after we go through the Fusco letter. But the main point here is that they're looking for this modified site plan. And we're asking the board not to require us to do a modified site plan, only because we're going into an existing space and nothing is changing. We're not making any physical changes to the site. We're not proposing any changes to the site for this use. So again, we're asking that site plan requirement be waived. They want a copy of the hard copy of the plan for the Tolman Fire Department at 1:20 scale. We've submitted that. Lighting, make sure lighting is downward facing and in compliance with code. We're not changing any lighting. We're not adding any lighting. Whatever lighting is existing is going to remain. It's going to stay. And the school is not in operation at night, so we don't need any additional lighting for the school. And then they want us to send to the sewer district and the health department for their review. The health department has reviewed it. They say no permits are required. The county sewer district has reviewed it, and they say there's going to be no impacts and no impact fee is required. And they want us to fill out a wastewater questionnaire, which we're more than happy to do. So those are Mr. Fusco's comments. And if the board would like, we can move on to the comments of the county in their GML review of what was the date of it? July 26th. Mr. Chairman, would you like me to go through those at that time? Or do you have comments or questions?
John Nozak,
Yes.
did you want to respond to anything that Saddam
Yes,
said?
so with regards to seeker, we do agree that we don't need to do a full long form EAF, which is noted, as well as SHPO. There's no proposed construction of any significance. Therefore, there's no need to go to them. So we agree with that. With regards to the issue of the amended site plan, we still feel it's in our letter. It's been in our letter for 3 or 4 times, and it most likely will be in future letters, that there are things that are kind of trying to be addressed in a circulatory type of sketch plan, not really an amended site plan. I'm not quite sure why the applicant's so hesitant, but there are some issues that we've asked pertaining to circulatory traffic based upon an amended site plan where it's to scale. We can verify that trucks can get in and out, handicap access, and some other comments from our previous review that we feel warrants an amended site plan. So we feel that that's required. A lot of the existing portion of what's there obviously doesn't need to be reinvented, but we feel there's additional information that's required on an amended site plan to scale that we can verify, not necessarily by a circular type of amended sketch type of map. With regards to the DOT, the applicant clearly has indicated they don't feel that they need to comply with those. My opinion is we should defer that to the DOT. If Mr. Baum can convince the DOT that that's not required, so be it. But I don't think it's our position to tell the DOT who has concerns on their state highway that, you know, well, we don't care. So we do. I think that concern needs to be raised directly with the DOT. Rocklin County Planning Department, there's a lot of issues that planning department has. They also recommended amended site plan approval. And those comments are serious concerns, and we think just overriding them is not in the best interest of this planning board and of this village. So we think those comments do need to be addressed. The rest of the comments I think are relatively minor, but that's our position with regards to engineering. From a planning perspective, we do think that the impacts would be minimal at this point.
Okay, thanks. Mr. Baum, did you want to continue? Or should we?
If it's okay with the board and nobody has any questions, I would like to go over the Rocklin County Department of Planning letter of July 26th and their comments.
Okay, and maybe we'll go through everything when you're done with it.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So in their letter, they note a disapproval. It's not clear whether they're disapproving the use, but it seems what they're just doing is disapproving our request for a waiver to dispense with the site plan approval. And they feel that they have insufficient information to determine if the proposed school is in compliance with the special use approval. We disagree. We're asking you to override that based upon the existing site plan. We think we've addressed all the impacts that have been identified, and none of them have risen to the level of anything significant. Again, this is an existing use. It's an existing site plan. It's an existing building. We're not looking to make any physical changes to the property, and the use that we're proposing does not create any impacts greater than a use that's permitted by right. And therefore, we're asking you to waive the site plan approval and override this requirement. Our narrative summary does address the special use criteria for this use. There is no particular criteria. It's just the general criteria. And we've gone through those things, and we feel that we meet all the requirements for the issuance of the special permit. Number two of the county, they want parking calculations to ensure that there's sufficient on-site parking. As we indicated, the site plan that was approved in 1996 has a parking calculation. The applicant did receive a waiver and to have a reduced number of parking. What we're proposing is going to have less of an impact than if we were to put in an office building. If we were to put in an office building, we'd have to show that we have 45 spaces at one space per 200. We don't need any more than 10 to 15 spaces, not the 45 that would be required. And there's ample space for the
Right, for
parking.
teachers alone, you need enough more spaces for teachers alone and for our staff.
The teachers alone are no more than 10 at any given time, a maximum of 30 staff, both part-time and full-time, will be using these premises. An office building, we require parking for 45 people. We don't need that. We think 40 spaces are apparently open on any given day in this parking lot. So we're requesting that comment be overridden because the needs and the impacts from this use are less than an office use, which is permitted by right and wouldn't require any further site plan or special permit review.
Aren't the buses going to be staying there all day, waiting for the children to be released from school as well, from dropping them off in the morning?
No, the buses will drop the children off in the morning. They will leave, they'll come back at night, pick up the children and leave. They will not be stored on site. So we don't need additional parking for storage of the buses. Number 3, it says it must be clarified if bus or vans are to be stored on site. And I think we just established that we're not storing them on site. And we request that this be overridden. They're seeking, the site plan for drop-off locations for students. I think from our circulation plan, you can see where the buses are going to pull up and drop the students in the back of the school. The school will have supervisors and monitors out there, as well as the flashing lights on the school bus to protect any vehicles from coming around the students. The monitors will have those handheld stop signs like you see at crossing guards use, and they'll similarly go out there, meet the students as they come in, and direct the students into the building. So we think it's going to be safe, and we think that there's no need to do a revised site plan to show these drop-off locations for the students. I think it's pretty evident from what we've submitted. Number 4, they're requesting a vehicle circulation plan for vans and buses. We have provided that. Number 5, they want a review by the DOT. We've discussed that, and we're requesting that be overridden by the board because the impacts that we're proposing don't warrant the need for a traffic impact study as the DOT has requested. We're not talking about a lot of traffic. We're not talking about a lot of buses here. Again, it's no more impacts than a use as of right. And if an office went in there, you can have delivery trucks, you can have other types of vehicles that'll be coming in to service this office building. And that can have a much greater impact than what we're proposing. Number 6, they want it sent to the town of Ramapo, the village of Montebello, for their review. We have no objection. I believe it has been sent to them and no comments have been received other than from the Department of Public Works from the town of Ramapo, which we've addressed in the narrative. 7, they want a review done by the County Department of Health to ensure compliance with the mosquito control. And the County Health Department has reviewed it and says no permits are required. Number 9 is, oh, I think I missed one.
Number 8.
Missed number 8, yes. According to the GML referral form, the subject property is 3.12 acres. The narrative said it's 3.4 acres. If any inaccurate information exists, it must be revised. We did revise the plan. We used the survey to show it's 432.9 square feet, which is 3.132 acres. And we corrected the application and the EAF, and we submitted those. And I'm presuming that the public hearing notice that was issued after that time was based upon the correct information. Number 9 just talks about other comments that are not conditions, but observations that they want the board to consider. 9.1 is referral agencies must be indicated on page 6 of the Airmont application form. We have submitted that revised application to show Rocklin County Department of Health, Rocklin County Sewer District, the adjacent municipalities, the town of Ramapo Sewer Department on that plan. And number 9.2, the first floor plan indicates 2 areas of the building labeled as C for Panther Martial Arts, but the label D is unavailable. They wanted a corrected floor plan, and we have submitted an updated floor plan that shows the locations of all the tenants in that lower level. 9.3 says this a couple questions are answered incorrectly because we didn't use the EAF mapper. We acknowledge that. We submitted a revised EAF that shows the EAF mapper information. But as we indicated, this is a type 2 action. It should not be subject to SECRA. And John confirmed that, and he agrees with our assessment. So with regard to the GML's comments, we're asking the board to override comments 1, 2, 3, and 5. And that's about it for that memo.
Number 4 doesn't have to be overridden. The vehicle circulation plan.
Well, we've submitted the
'cause you included it.
circulation plan. We've submitted a circulation plan for small buses, a standard size fire truck, the aerial 20 Pierce vehicle, and the standard full-size school bus. So
Okay, so that's done.
I think we've met that requirement that they've asked for.
Okay, thanks. Anybody have any questions, any comments?
I didn't know if the building inspector had any comments. We didn't ask him prior.
Yeah.
Is he here?
Lou, were you able to get out there at all and take a look?
Lou's here?
Yeah, he's there.
Yes, he's here.
Oh,
Hi.
right, there you are.
No, I had no other comments except for the comments from the fire inspector, the fire department, and the intensification of the use, possibly requiring a site plan upgrade, but that's it.
Okay, did we discuss the fire department's comments? Mr. Baum, did you bring those up?
No, I did not. So we can go to those. The Tolman Fire Department submitted a letter dated July 27th. They wanted to know that there is sufficient means of egress from the proposed school in conformity with the applicable laws and codes. Otherwise, they had no comments. We submitted the updated floor plan. There are 2 means of ingress and egress to the space. And, you know, we're not looking to override any safety requirements of the building or the fire codes. So whatever those codes are, we have to comply. We can't use the building. So we're not looking for anything that, you know, would be objectionable. They had also asked for their plan showing the Tower 20 vehicle, which we provided. And that was about it from the fire department. They did submit a new comment letter, I believe. Yeah, their only other comment was they wanted the full-size hard copy of the turning analysis at 1 inch equals 20 specs. And again, we provided that one.
Yes, they were given it on Monday, the 22nd.
We did have a comment from the fire inspector. And we were hoping to have the fire inspector come in and do an inspection so that he can report back to this board tonight. And I don't know if that occurred either. But again, we realize that we're subject to all the building and fire codes of the state of New York and the village, and nobody's looking to override or waive any of those requirements. Safety is a paramount concern to everyone, as well as the applicant. So they're not looking to take any shortcuts there. So we encourage the fire inspector and the building inspector to come out and do whatever inspections they feel is necessary to ensure that these premises can be safely occupied for the uses proposed.
Okay,
I talked about the sewer district letter. They really said it's not going to have any impact, and they wanted us to fill out a wastewater questionnaire, which we will submit. They had some comments regarding, it appears to deal with construction, but we're not doing any work. The site's fully developed, so no buildings, no structures are going to be put within any of their easements. And they deferred to for sanitary sewer construction. We're not installing any sanitary sewer lines. And sanitary sewer connections are subject to the town of Ramapo. Again, we're not looking to make any new sanitary sewer connections. No constructions proposed. With regard to the town of Ramapo DPW letter, They wanted a sanitary sewer review for the final subdivision. This is not a subdivision. So I wasn't clear on that comment, but again, we're not doing anything new. Whatever's there exists. It was approved. It was permitted. The COs were issued. The building is up. We're not changing anything, so we don't feel that we need to go back and reinvent the wheel here and do make sure there's check valves or do a new sanitary sewer study or showing sewer connections and pretreatment. We're just taking over an existing space in an existing building that was approved. So we don't feel that we need to do any of these things. But obviously the DPW is, if they require certain things and those things are needed as required by the building department, we're more than willing to do it. And I think that's all the comments, Mr. Chairman. I think I got them all.
Okay,
For the person who raised their hand, when the public hearing is open and we call on, you'll be called on at that time.
Just a quick, you mentioned about the sidewalks, the safety of the kids. You think they're not going to walk? Because kids always walk into schools. Just curious.
My understanding is these children will not be walking along Route 59 to school. They will all be bused. They don't live, so close by that they're gonna walk and cross Route 59 and walk down Route 59. So we're not creating any new demands on the existing sidewalk. So whatever there is there, and it's going to be continued to be used as it was in the past and as it would be in the future if an office went into that space. So we don't feel that we need to look at it and do any upgrades.
Officers are not kids. We're talking about children here, 14-year-olds, 15-year-olds.
14, 15, 16, and 17. Yes.
14 and 15 are still children.
From
Offices are made for adults. They know where to walk.
Yeah, well, we don't anticipate any children walking to the school. Rabbi Fisher's here. He can speak to where these children come from, where these students come from, and that none of them are going to be walking. So, but we can always take a look at the condition of the sidewalk, but we don't think we're creating a need to do any upgrades there based upon our use. Rabbi, can you address the girls walking to school?
Yes, the one of the rules of the school will be that girls cannot walk to school. We don't think it's gonna be safe for them. Most of them, as you said, live very far away. We will be busing all the girls into the area. And we don't anticipate that any girls should be walking on the sidewalks.
Thank you.
will any of these girls be driving to school?
No,
They're not allowed
they're not
to get a
allowed to drive.
license
They're not
until
allowed
they
to get a
graduate.
license until they graduate.
Mhm.
The only cars that will be coming to school is just the staff as Paul. That's 10 staff at a time around. Just buses, vans coming in the morning, in the afternoon, and it's going to be minimal use of the parking lot as
So technically, there's not going to be any traffic throughout the whole day, only certain timings. Is that correct?
correct. It's very, very minimal, very minimal. There's always usually at least 40 to 45 extra parking spaces anyways out of that area.
Any given time.
Given time of day, anybody could stop by and you'll see there's always extra parking and extra parking. And but anyways, we're really gonna have very minimal use. It's gonna be like just the girls come in the morning, girls leave in the afternoon, and it's gonna be a rotation of 10, around 10 staff coming and going. But they come in in the morning, some come morning stay and all of them come in the afternoon. It's not gonna be, we're not talking about 30, 40 cars coming and going the whole day, drop off, coming back, coming and going back. It's basically a bus in the morning, bus in the afternoon, and just staff, minimal staff coming in.
And the vehicles coming in the morning would be less than if there would be an office of lots of people coming in to work at 9 a.m. or something like that. It's just 4 or 5 vans, buses, coming, dropping off the kids. So that shouldn't be making a very big impact on the children.
So technically, it's going to be better impact in a way what was till now. Is that correct?
Correct.
It
Correct.
would be, yeah.
The use till now was this Lexington recovery. They were having group sessions, single sessions of adults
Turnover.
and children. And the turnover was coming, dropping people off, picking them up, dropping off, picking them up. It was usage coming and going the whole day. And over here, we tend a much smaller usage operation.
Thank you.
So Rabbi,
Quick
Go ahead.
question.
the students may not walk to school, but can they walk outside of school during the day?
No, only right in front of the thing. We are not going to let them pass the front of the school building, front of the building.
The back,
They're
they're
only
in the
going to be
back.
staying with an entrance in the back, and we're going to make very, very strict.
My understanding, this building is still going to be still also used as offices as well, right?
In the front,
Yeah.
What about
in the back,
what about lunch and recess when the kids are outside playing? How are we going to avoid the cars going in and out from the offices for the safety of the children?
all offices in the front of the building. There's no office in the back of the building. There are no offices in the back of the building. We have
There are functional
Yes.
warehouses in the back of the building.
basically us and just 3 other warehouses.
And there's an area that will have.
And there's
to
the
be
area that
locked.
we're gonna have gated off, hopefully, we're gonna knock off with chains.
And that's where the girls can
That's
be.
where the girls are gonna be, but we're not gonna let them roam around that whole
No.
parking lot that is not safety, and we're not gonna let that happen.
Lou, did you say something? I think I thought I heard your voice before.
Yeah, there's 2 warehousing facilities in the back of that building that one does soundproofing and one does electrical work back there. So there are trucks that go in and out, delivery trucks, vans, contractor vans. There's a lot of vehicles that larger vehicles that go in the back of the building.
Has anyone reviewed the vehicle circulation plan? Any comments on that from our consultants? There he is. Hey, John.
Hey, so there was a circular sketch that was provided. It was not given in a form of an amended site plan, which is prepared to scale. So until we have those things on an amended site plan where they're prepared to scale, where we can actually measure the radiuses, there's no way that we can definitively say that that it meets the appropriate criteria.
Okay, thanks.
Mr. Baum, any comment on that?
The scale is shown on these plans, and they did submit a full-size plan at the request of the fire department, and the fire department didn't have any comments with regard to the truck circulation. This is not something that's new. I mean, when the site plan was laid out, as you all know, that's one of the things that the board always looks at to make sure there's adequate circulation for delivery vehicles, for fire trucks. And this project was approved. So we have to assume that it meets all those criteria. But we've shown it anyway. We were requested to show the bigger fire truck, the Tower 20, which wasn't around in 1996. And we've shown that. And we've shown that a full-size school bus that we're not intending to use, but we've shown that that can circulate safely through the parking lot.
I guess my concern is when I signed off on this in 1996, we were talking about an office building, what's in there now, doing electrical work. We were in no way thinking it would be a school with younger children walking around. I know the rabbi says everyone's going to be caged in there, but I don't know how that's possible. And that's my concern.
So, listen, I mean, I can understand the board's concern for wanting an updated and modified site plan. But, you know, as we keep saying that this use, the impacts from this use are going to be less, we believe, than any impact that's for any use that's allowed as a matter of right. So we're not really adverse to doing a modified site plan, but time is crucial here. Time is an issue for this applicant. The school year is, you know, a week away. We need to be able to get into the school and commence operations. And, you know, the applicant would be willing to do the modified site plan, but as I suggested in my narrative, what we'd like to do, and hopefully the board will work with us and grant us a conditional special permit and allow the issuance of a temporary certificate of occupancy for 90, 120 days. And in that time, we could come back with a site plan so that any of these concerns that the board has raised, we can show that you know, we're gonna do the right thing and everything's gonna be safe, and we'll address the board's concerns.
Yeah, but Paul, we've both been doing this for a long time. And you guys have not been before this board. It's been a short period of time.
Yeah, I realize
These
that,
things
John.
take a lot of time.
Well, but the site plan really shouldn't take a lot of time because again, it's a fully developed site. There's an approved site plan. I can understand that maybe we'll want modifying the back and show how the students are going to drop off and maybe move some of the parking spaces and you know, John wanted the scaled circulation plans, which we can do. So we can show that this space can be safely occupied and that they're, you know, and that, you know, the concerns I think can be addressed. And all we're asking is, like Richard said last month, give us a chance. Let us get in there, let us occupy it, give us the conditional special permit. And if the board wants us, we will come back with that site plan within the next 30, 60, 90 days and address all these concerns, and then we can move on from there. But I don't think we're talking about an extensive site plan since no construction is proposed. And it's probably a very limited review of some site plan elements.
Yeah, I agree. Probably, you know, a scaled down version of the site plan would be fine. So let's say we go the road of giving a conditional one. What if something happens to a student? Then what? Something that we know could have been fixed before this even occurred. I know I'm playing what ifs here, but
Yeah, I understand, John. Listen, children enter and exit school buses on a regular basis on major roads, at major intersections. The schools have flashing red lights. Everybody knows to stop. Around schools, you have monitors that walk out into the road. They hold up their stop signs. They make sure the children safely cross the road and get into school. And that's done for children in elementary school age, as young as, you know, 7, 8, 9 years old. We're proposing to do the exact same thing here so that, you know, safety is, again, utmost concern to us as well. But if you've got a school and that bus is stopped and its red lights are flashing and there's a monitor out there with the handheld stop signs directing the children from the rear of the building or, you know, from the rear of the parking area into the school, I think it's safe. And I don't see a major concern, a health concern or a safety concern if that's done.
Okay,
Robert,
Yes,
so how would you feel if we can see about giving them like a permit for now and then give them some time to put everything together because their concern is that they're running out of time. So,
yeah, I understand that, and respectfully, Mr. Baum says that, you know, a site plan can be put together in a relatively quick period of time. I think this is something that the planning board has been requesting, at least since I've been involved, which was several months ago, and we still don't have a site plan. I just have two questions. Under what authority would the planning board be able to waive the requirement of a site plan?
Under your site development plan rules and regulations, under section 164.13, the site development plan rules and regulations, it grants the right to the planning board to adjust site development plan regulations so that substantial justice may be done and the public interest secured where they find, because of special circumstances of a particular site, difficulties may result from strict compliance with the regulations. And they have the authority to adjust site plan rules. They have the authority to waive site plan rules, and they have the authority to waive a site plan if they feel it's not required.
Well, the way, you know, I don't want to get into a back and forth, but the way I read that is they have the authority to adjust regulations, not waive them.
Well, they certainly have done in the past. They've waived landscape plans where you have sites that are fully improved. They've waived
But has a
lighting
site,
plans.
but in those situations, I'm assuming site plans have been submitted for review.
Well, we have an existing site plan, Robert. It's not like there's no site plan that exists for this property whatsoever. There's a site plan that exists that shows that this site can be safely utilized for office use. Our impacts are nothing greater than the office use. And I do understand that the board may have concerns with the girls entering and exiting the school. And I think that's a very limited site plan review, and that we could do like a part plan that shows how we're going to get these girls into the school from the buses to the entranceway. So yeah, we haven't done a site plan because we've been asking the board to waive the site plan. This has really only been going on for a little over a month. It hasn't been going on for months. I think our first application to the planning board was in the beginning of June, beginning of July, I'm sorry. So, so we haven't done a site plan because we were hoping that the board would waive the requirements because our use is really such a small impact and it doesn't rise to the level of a new site plan. And I keep saying it, our impacts are less than any use that's permitted as of right that can go in there tomorrow. And they wouldn't have any site plan review, no special permit review, no review by any agencies, and other than the building inspector. So I feel under that section, the planning board can waive the requirement and they can adjust the regulations. Under section 210.77.c, the planning board can authorize a partial or temporary certificate of occupancy for use for periods of 90 days, but not more than a year, as long as it can be occupied safely.
That's a C of O though. That's not a special use permit. That's a C of O.
No, that's in the site plan conditions. There's additional section in the administrative section that also grants the building inspector the authority to issue a temporary CO for 90 days. But this one is within the site plan section, and it clearly authorizes the board to do that. And the site plan regs and the conditional or special permit requirements do authorize the board to, as a condition of approval, to establish any conditions, requirements it may deem necessary and appropriate to promote public health and safety and to otherwise implement the intent of the chapter. And I think that's all we're asking the board to do here. And I think there's ample authority within the zoning code for the board to do just that.
I,
So
I,
guess-
I appreciate what you're saying. I understand. Ultimately, this is, it's a matter for the board to determine.
Yes.
Obviously, words such as public health, safety, welfare, I think they should be emphasized, given that this is going to be a school for children. That would be my suggestion, is to think of that.
But we're not, we don't want to compromise anybody's health or safety. Obviously, the building inspector, fire inspector are going to have to go in there and make sure this site can be safely
Have they-
occupied.
Lou, have you and the fire inspector conducted a site visit?
No,
So that's,
Obviously, that
this is stuff for the board to consider. It's not necessarily for me to pull out.
yeah, and we're not looking for any waiver on that. That's a good condition that we're not going to object to. So if the board wants the
But
condition
I don't know how Inspector Zumo can issue a temporary anything if he hasn't visited the subject property.
Well, obviously, he's going to have to go and do an inspection. Yes.
I can issue a temporary for a special use permit. I can only issue temporary COs.
Right.
And their CO there already is a CO for this space.
Yeah, but what we're asking is for the planning board to authorize the issuance of the temporary CO. And then that gives the power of the building inspector to issue it. And it obviously it'll be made subject to appropriate conditions to make sure this site is safely occupied. And we'll come back and we'll submit the site plan with regard to the drop-off area and address these concerns of the board if they're not willing to waive the site plan.
Now it's 34, now it's 30, 40 kids. Next year will be 70 kids. In 2 years it'll be
Exactly.
150.
Well, right now, we're proposed for 65 to 75 girls.
And next year, how do we know it's not gonna double or triple?
Well, I guess you don't. And obviously, if we exceeded that number, we'd have to come back, but that's not the intent. The intent of this school is for it to be small. These girls need, they don't want big. The whole idea of the school is to keep it small, to have personalized instruction and counseling and small group instruction, and to develop, the skills for these girls that are going to help them, such as, art classes and theater and computer skills and accounting skills. This is not a school that's looking to get big and to give general instruction to girls. This is a school that has a very niche purpose, and that's to really help these girls that have been significantly impacted by the COVID crisis and that need a little extra assistance. They can't perform well in traditional high school settings. So this is really geared towards teaching and developing technical skills for these girls. And the intent is to keep it small classes, small school. So there's really no intent to try and make this, something bigger than it is.
This property till now also had, I think, some classes, is that correct? Like programs with children in there?
The Lexington Center did run programs, educational programs, counseling programs, similar to what we're going to run. I don't know the ages of their clientele. I do understand that some of them were young, but other than that, I really can't, speak any more to it. But the services that they provided to their clientele is very similar in nature to what the rabbi in the school are trying to give to these girls. Small school, specialized training, and counseling to help them deal with the extraordinary pressures that they've gone through and that we've all gone through as a result of the COVID-19 crisis. But it hurts these girls in particular. Some of them have deficit disorders and other problems, and they just can't function in a traditional high school. And that's the whole focus of this school. Is to give these girls smaller hands-on education that they can't otherwise get. And to give them skills and training in specialized vocations so they can be productive.
So till now, the building, the property was only for offices or was mixed use?
It was offices. There is some warehouse use in the bottom. By the notes on the plan, it looks like it may have been used for a martial arts school. We know it was used by the Lexington Center. So I don't know the history of all the uses in the school. I assume the building inspector would know since he issues the approvals and permits.
There's medical use. There's a medical, can you hear me?
Yeah, go ahead. Official, we can hear you.
I think there's a medical office upstairs.
It's mixed.
It's a very mixed use. It's a very, very mixed use of, there is, you know, a lot of upstairs, a lot of different types of offices upstairs. It's, you know, very mixed use building.
So basically, you're going to be renting a couple of offices from this building. Is that correct?
No, it's not. We're not moving into office space. It's just, there's a separate, Lexington had a separate entrance in the back, on the side. That's the two aggressors that we have. It was a separate, we're not going to be going to the main entrance of the building. We have a whole separate section just for us. That's why it's set up already. There's office.
But the warehouses, Rabbi, is a concern in the back. Aren't you concerned about the warehouses in the back?
No, because I'm not so worried about it because we are going to gate in the area. You know, a very small part that to have them, you know, that they could use. There will be no parking right in front of the building. You know, the access, there's plenty of parking on the side, plenty of parking on the side. There will not be the staff cannot park right in the front. That part will be gated off for the girls to be able to come outside. Anytime we do have to have them outside, there will be a staff member there on site to obviously make sure that everybody's full.
There's still deliveries, unloading with trucks.
It's not they're down the side. They're not in front of our neighbor. They're not in front. They're further down. We have the corner of the building. They have the other part. We have a separate part of the building, and that's going to be our use. We're not going to be going in the front where all the cars are coming in and out. And, you know, a truck comes in, he parks. And then obviously if girls are around, there will be somebody there to make sure that when the truck leaves, no girls are standing around. And it's gonna be, if they let out, there should be a gate. There should be a gate there.
There's gonna be a gate on the pavement. There's gonna be a gate. How would that say hypothetically?
In front of the gate, there's gonna be like a chain. I hope we'll plan on putting a chain there. That's gonna be chain off that front of the area.
Chains don't trucks off. You
No,
can't see chains.
No, trucks don't pass by that area at all. There's another lane for trucks. There's a lane.
Hypothetically, I'm a truck driver delivering to that warehouse. I don't know where that warehouse. I'm lost. I'm making a left instead of a right, and I hit the school. And I go into the school. I don't see that gate because the truck is approximately 5 to 6 feet. You can't even see down. It's like a bus, school bus. You can't see what's on bottom. A driver that doesn't know the area, it doesn't know where to go. How do you going to prevent him to not go towards the school and not go towards into the warehouse?
Right, so it does say a clear sign that trucks should go a certain way. And when I've ever been in that area, all trucks go the way the truck route is. I have never seen yet a truck go the other route. Every time I step into the area, the trucks go a certain route. They've never gone the other route ever, and chain is not chaining off. I'm not blocking the trucks from coming. a lane of truck, there's a lane for trucks to go. That's not gonna be blocked off. There's a whole bunch of, there's like 8 or to 10 parking spaces in front of the school building, the entrance of the building. That will be gated off. If they have to come out, they'll be gated off in there. They will not be allowed to go on that truck route, on the truck, where the trucks could go. So that will be that safety for those girls over there.
The LO zone allows this use. And the LO zone allows offices and it allows the warehouses. So no, wherever we put this use, unless we're a freestanding building by ourselves somewhere, there's always going to be the potential for conflicts with the other uses. But we feel we can overcome that with the monitors and the supervision of the girls outside. Listen, they have looked far and wide for a place to locate the school. And in Airmont, it's allowed in 2 zones, the VC and the LO. There's nothing out there that's suitable for them until this space came along. So we feel that whatever concerns that the board has regarding the safety issues can easily be overcome. And we'll show you on a site plan how we intend to address those issues if that's the board's wishes. But we would like the ability to get in there, safely occupy it, use our monitors and staff supervision, and until we can give you a plan in a month or 2 to show how we're going to deal with these issues that you raise.
I just add, we're doing this because these children have needs, and that's what we're here to meet their needs. And definitely their safety, and we appreciate the concern about the girls' safety, is just as important as their emotional and their mental health and their learning and becoming more comfortable and more functional after all they've been through, and their physical and health and safety is just as important, and we appreciate that, and definitely we'll take that into account. I mean, proper supervision and all of that is extremely important. We realize that, and we'll address that, absolutely. We're here, the purpose of this school is to help these girls, so that's what we're here for. That's our goal, and we appreciate the concern, and we will definitely, it will most definitely be addressed.
Okay, Simon, I'm just looking at the survey here. You have a copy of the survey?
Yes.
I'm just looking, Mr. Bauman, Rabbi Fisher, tell me if I'm right. It looks like in front of your building or in front of your area of this building, they're like, I don't know, call them like concrete barriers. And when you're looking at the site plan not the site, from the survey from the front, if I can do this, but to the left, it's a long concrete pad that extends all the way into the driveway part of the parking lot. Is that right?
Correct.
It goes up and then splits
Yeah.
like a T.
Right, correct.
Right. No, so I'm just looking at the survey here. I don't think it'd be that much of a concern of a truck pulling into your parking lot.
Right, exactly. That's what I'm trying to tell him.
If he does, he would be going around one concrete barrier and driving directly towards another one.
That's correct.
Correct.
Is your plan to cordon off that entire area between these 2 concrete, I don't know what they are, just pads?
Right. We'd like to from
Sure.
from one concrete to the other thing to close off those parking areas that for safety of children.
Like to rope them off or to chain them off or something?
Right. Just for just make sure so no truck ever comes in there. Just for extra safety. Correct.
And you'll have the right to do that from the landlord?
The landlord does allow it.
Okay.
Excuse me, can I explain something? If you look at between the long T-shaped barrier to the next one on the right,
Yeah.
The loading dock for the warehouse is between those two. So trucks have to pull in there. If you look, it says
No.
10-foot overhead door.
I
So
see that.
That's part of our, it's the part of our building. That's part of our,
according to your drawings, you don't have access to any overhead doors.
it's,
Can I show my screen? And
Yeah, I
then
was just gonna ask you that, if you would please share it. Let me just get there. Hold on one second and I'll give you permission. I'm just getting in there. All right, go ahead, Paul.
Okay.
Thank you.
Let me see here. So I'm putting up the original small bus and standard fire truck circulation plans that we have submitted. And if you see here, here's the entrance to the school. Here's where we plan on having the drop off for the children. We have 2 buses come up. The other 2 buses can wait. I don't think they'll all 4 be coming at the same time. But between these parking spaces, I think this is what the rabbi is talking about, where they can gate off this area. This is where the warehouse use is, but they can gate off this area and stop any parking, any vehicles from entering this parking space.
Correct.
So, we can show this on a site plan and show how it would work and show how it's going to be safe for the girls to exit and enter onto the school buses in the beginning and the end of the day. By putting up the amended site plan, and this the area, these spaces were just, I think, added in 1996 with this amended site plan, and we'll be looking to, I guess, essentially eliminate them.
Eliminate them. I think we just close them off when we.
When the school's not in session, yeah, we can.
Correct.
we can have a gate that opens and closes so that the parking can be used
Or
and
something.
it can be locked off when the girls are using it. But it's certainly something that's solvable. There's plenty of room back here for the
When
vehicles
it's
to
my
pass.
turn to talk, you'll have to be quiet.
And while the buses are
I'll let you know.
stopped, the flashing lights will be on and people will know they're not going to drive past it. Just like on any street and that you see. I mean, buses stop on Route 59 and cars stop. So I don't think this is going to be any more dangerous than that type of a situation.
I think it'd be safer.
yeah, I think it'll be safe.
We're not on 59. We're just in a driveway.
There's not a tremendous amount of
No,
traffic
not trying
going
to track
on.
traffic. We're having a truck
No,
once
but
in a
also
while
the
gets in the
warehouses
back, but
going in.
where the warehouses don't have trucks coming in and out every 5 minutes. It's just once in a while they have a truck drop off a load and come and go. And there's enough space to be able to.
Route 59 wasn't the issue. It's if it would have been a freestanding building, a school, that wouldn't have been the main issue. That wouldn't have been at all a problem. We're talking about here, it's a combined building together with, you know what I mean? People that's coming just to a medical, to a doctor, to an office, which doesn't have in mind that it's a school, doesn't even think it's a
But
school. Just keeps on driving.
They don't drive to the back.
They all use the front. They don't use the back. They all use the entrance to the front. There's no reason for them to
Drive around to the back.
drive around the back of the building.
Maybe for that issue, signage can be to solve that issue.
True, that's true.
Entering in that direction.
Exactly.
That should be.
Right, and as Paul said before, I think it's a very appropriate. He said that only the LO is zoning for such type of school. That's like, this is what it's made for with special instructions. This is what this building is made for that, and that's why we're asking to get in as soon as possible. We have this the amended site plan as Paul mentioned before. So we do have a site plan. We have the circular, circulation and of everything, and we do it very safely. We're not here, obviously.
We're here for the good of the girls.
And
I mean, we could certainly come in with a site plan that focuses in on this section of the site, which is really where all the activity is going to happen with the drop-offs and the unloading. And this is not going to be used as a permanent outdoor play area for the students. Maybe they want to get out and stretch their legs a little bit, but this is not a school of general instruction. There's no requirement that we provide, outdoor recreational areas. Obviously, the kids are going to want to get out, and I think if this is gated off and supervisors and staff are out there with the girls, it could be done safely. And we're not talking about, a lot of girls coming out there at any one given time. There'll be small groups.
Rabbi Fisher, you back on?
Yes.
Do you know the age of the children who were using it when it was Lexington?
It seems like, I don't know exactly. It seems like that it was, and I think the line, it says ages, young age to adults.
Do you know approximately how many people were using it at a time when Lexington was there?
I don't know approximately, but they do have signs of rooms that were 101, group that have signs to large group rooms. They had a few large group rooms, a few rooms that were small group rooms, that had rooms that were 101. It's like there was a very big, I think as Lou mentioned last time, the space isn't big enough for 200 students.
We don't intend to get to that.
We don't intend to get there at all.
No,
We
wanna
want to keep it small. And our use is almost the same thing of coming in with, small groups.
Wasn't Advanium there? I thought it was Advanium. What's the place called? Wasn't that in the building?
Upstairs. That's upstairs. The front of the upstairs.
That's not the same?
No. That's the front. That's the front. The video is upstairs, and you have a full house upstairs, and you have a little.
So Advanium has nothing to do with you?
No. That's in the front.
Lexington was drug rehab.
Drug rehab.
That's what
Can I
Lexington
clarify
was.
something? I did say that you could hold up to 200 students based on the size of the room and the occupancy. I didn't say it would be safe to hold 200 students.
Yeah. We're not getting there.
That's not at all
Yes.
the intention.
Right. That's 100% true. Yes, Lou, we're not getting there. Yes, I know you said that. Just the occupancy of 200. I know. I didn't mean, we're stuffing the place up with 200 students. No, we're not. It's not the intent to do that, and we'd like to keep this thing
That's the
small.
intent of the purpose of this school is
Right.
for small.
Anybody else? Can we open it up? Okay. I would just like to clarify with Mr. Zitt and Mr. Baum, what is it exactly that you're looking for here? Do you want us to approve the old site plan, or do you want us to waive?
Well, we were asking, Mr. Chairman, that you waive the requirement for a site plan approval, just grant us the special permit, but it's obvious that the sentiment of the board is that you want to see some sort of site plan that shows how these children are going to safely enter and exit the school, and how we're going to provide for their safety if they go outside to congregate in front of the building, and that's something that we will do. But
And inside of the school too, no?
well, the inside of the school, we'll leave it to the building inspector or the fire inspector to make sure that it can be safely occupied in accordance with all building and fire codes. So what we're asking you to do is give us a conditional special permit, subject to us coming back with a site plan. Authorize the issuance of a temporary certificate of occupancy for 90 days. And in that time, we'll come in with a site plan, and you can review it, and you can approve a modified site plan. And if we can't show you that this building can be safely occupied, it's not going to be occupied. Either the building inspector is not going to allow them to occupy to begin with, or you're going to say, listen, the site plan doesn't work, it's not safe. The CO is expiring, we're revoking it, and you can't use it any further. And we're willing to take that risk, but we feel that the concerns of the board can be met, and that we can show you that this site is safe to occupy for the use that we intend.
Okay, so just to clarify for me again, you're asking the board for a temporary amended site plan approval?
Well, we're asking for a conditional
Temporary, sorry,
special permit.
Temporary or conditional stuff? Temporary
temp-
special permit?
a temporary, a conditional special permit conditioned upon us coming back with a modified site plan
Mhm.
and to grant us a temporary certificate of occupancy to allow us to occupy it for 90 days, obviously subject to, appropriate fire codes and building codes and the building inspector confirming that it's safe to occupy.
Okay,
I can't,
Well, wait, let me ask
issue
you a
a
question.
temporary certificate of occupancy to the school. Yeah, certificate of occupancy goes to the owner of the building. I can give you, you could apply for a new tenant occupancy certificate as the school to occupy a rental space.
Whatever the particular permit is that allows us to occupy it. But the code, does certainly authorize the planning board to permit it, and the code certainly authorizes ULU to issue one, subject to completion of whatever improvements that may be requested by the board. As I indicated, it's in section Section 21077C of the zoning code with regard to the planning board authorizing partial or temporary certificates of occupancy in connection with site plans, and in 210-148B that authorizes the building inspector to issue a partial or temporary certificate of occupancy or use, however you want to call it, until whatever work is completed. So whatever work the board would impose would have to be done.
So, Mr. Zitt, what's your opinion of that?
Frankly, I don't think the board has the authority to issue a temporary special use permit.
No, they're not. They're asking, they're granting a conditional special permit.
But what you just cited was on site development plan review.
Right. So if they're going to require us, so we're getting a conditional special permit that's going to be subject to a site plan approval, and they're authorizing a temporary C of O for 90 days while they review that site plan approval. The authorization, I believe, is clearly set forth in the code. 21097G allows the board to grant conditional approval for a special permit, provided, appropriate health, safety, and welfare are implemented. And
I think that is the difficult determination to make at this juncture, considering not much has been provided to the board, particularly the building inspector and the fire inspector.
Mr. Zitt, I don't know how you can say that after we've given all these bus circulation plans, we've given the floor plan with the usage and the square footage. We've stated that we're going to supervise these students. They're going to have red flashing lights at the time they enter and exit. Nobody's going to drive around them. I think it's safe. The building inspector will go in there. They'll do their inspections. They'll make sure whatever fire and building code requirements are being complied with. Nobody, other than speculation, nobody has stated in any specific way how this site cannot be safely occupied on a temporary or a full-time basis. And I understand the board has some concerns and they would like to see a modified site plan, and we're willing to do that. But I haven't seen any significant comments that show that this is going to be a major safety problem. I haven't heard any either. And we've done everything that we've been asked of. We've submitted the narratives addressing the comments. We've submitted the updated plans. We submitted the circulation plans. We've submitted the amended site plan that was approved in '96 for you to see. We've given you the floor plans. So, I mean, I think we've really made a great effort in trying to allay any concerns of the board. And if you have more and you want us to do a modified site plan, we'll do that. But to say that we haven't given the board anything, I think is off base.
I didn't say you haven't given the board anything. I said the building department and the fire inspector.
Well, if I was the tenant and I was going to use this as an office, we would apply for a permit. They go in and do their inspections, and they'd issue the certificate of use.
They would issue the permit after the inspections, no?
Yeah, and that's what we're asking. I'm not asking them to issue a temporary certificate of occupancy before they do any inspections. Obviously, they're going to have to do their inspections, and they're not going to issue one if it's not safe from a building and fire standpoint. Nobody is asking that. Nobody's asking anyone to let us go in there and allow these girls to occupy an unsafe space. We will not occupy it until the building inspector and fire inspector go in there and confirm that it's safe. And they're not going to issue any approvals until it meets all the requirements of the building and fire code. Nobody's asking that to be waived or overridden in any way.
So again, just to be clear for us, what you're requesting from the board tonight is your special permit on condition that you provide us with whatever, the modified site plan.
Modified site plan, yes. And to authorize the building inspector to issue a temporary certificate of use, occupancy, tenancy use.
Is that something we have to do? We would have to authorize him to do that? Or does the code authorize him to do that?
Well, the code only authorizes him to issue it based upon an approved site plan. And at this point, if you want a modified site plan, that won't be in existence. So you do have the authority to allow a temporary occupancy prior to the site plan and any improvements that you want being made. And that's what we're asking for.
So, Mr. Chairman, until our legal representative tells us we can do that, I would not feel comfortable doing it.
That was my next question for Mr. Zick. Are you in agreement that can be done, whether or not we choose to do it? We're just trying to clarify what it exactly is we're being asked to do here tonight, and if what we're being asked to do is within the code.
I think conditional,
Special permit.
putting conditions upon the issuance of a special use permit, I think that is permissible, but to do it without the modified site plan that the village's consultants and professionals have been requesting, my advice would be to not do that.
But that could be one of the conditions of the special permit, is that we have to come back with the modified site plan. Because it's not like there's no site plan at all, Mr. Chairman. There is a site plan. You want it modified because this use is going to provide different impacts that the standard office use won't have, and we're willing to come back and accept that condition on the issuance of our permit.
Okay. John Cornelius? Anything?
Yeah, I'm on my phone. I gotta unmute.
Oh, I see.
Unless our representative legally says we're good, I wouldn't touch it. Because he's got to represent it in court in case something happens.
And
Right.
again, that goes, we're gonna be talking in circles all day, and I don't want to
Yep.
get into a back and forth with Mr. Baum, and I apologize if I'm being abrasive in any way. But I think the village should certainly defer to its professionals. That's the fire inspector, that's the building inspector, that is the engineers and the planners that have raised all of these concerns. Article 78 aside, I think that the special use permit and all of the language involving, safety, welfare, preservation of those things, I think it's significant to consider what it is that the consultants are recommending. That would be my advice. The board is certainly free to disregard it.
And I would happen to agree, even though I think what they're doing for these girls is great, but
If I could just chime in, I understand the professionals, the consultants have raised some concerns. But in raising those concerns, they haven't identified any significant impact. They just, the things to say, listen, we think it would be good if you had a modified site plan that showed A, B, C, D. It wasn't saying, hey, these premises cannot be safely occupied and because of A, B, C, and D. We haven't heard that. The better practice for their standpoint and from a professional standpoint was, let's get a modified site plan and show how, just like we've shown you on the plans that we've submitted, put it on a formal site plan. And that's what we're willing to do. But it's really form over substance at that point. We're going to be submitting you the document, but the document is just going to bear out everything that we're saying right now. So it's not like it's needed to prove anything. So this site can be safely occupied. The building and fire inspector will not let anybody occupy it until all the building and fire codes have been met. And we're not asking you to do anything that's going to jeopardize the health and safety of any of the occupants of this building.
John, what do you say?
You have to specify which John.
John Fusco.
We got some interference here. We've been going back through 6-7 weeks with the same comment. Our comments are the same. We feel an amended site plan is required here. So that's our opinion. That's what we need in anticipation of a significant use change to a school. I would have thought maybe this application could have been submitted in November and December in anticipation of plenty of time to do what we need to do in order to put the applicant in a position where they could open on the beginning of the school year. So we didn't see that. We feel we need an amended site plan, and that's our recommendation. And we can talk about it and argue it back all night long. This is a public hearing, and there are a lot of other items on the agenda. So the planning board should just give Mr. Baum some direction so we can move forward.
Thank you, John.
Chairman Freeland, don't forget it is a public hearing and we do
Right,
have.
yeah, we
some-
will open it. Right, it's a tricky one, so I'm just trying to get some clarity here.
Yeah, that's fine. Take your time.
Okay, maybe let's open up to the public and see. It looks like there are a lot of hands up.
Right. Are you making a motion?
Yes, let's make a motion to open it up to the public comments.
3-minute rule. Shouldn't forget about that.
What?
Who was the
3-minute
second on
rule.
that?
I'll second.
I second.
Okay. All in favor? Okay. Um,
Aye.
I will call on you and unmute you. If you could please state your name and address for the record. And you have 3 minutes to speak what you would like to say. The first hand I'm going to unmute is a Paul Brennan.
You have to unmute yourself,
Paul?
Mr. Brennan.
Go ahead, Mr. Brennan. I unmuted you.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity to provide some comments. My name is Paul Brennan. I reside at 43 Lackawanna Trail, which is the neighboring property. Not much has been said about the neighboring property that is directly behind 100 Route 59. I've resided at my address for 28 years, so I'm well aware of the current tenants in the building and how the property is used. There is traffic constantly, truck traffic making deliveries that circulates that building. It comes in off Route 59, goes to the left, goes around the building, and comes up on the right side and goes out the other entrance. So there is a considerable amount of traffic on a regular basis. Also, the building's garbage containers are in the back of the building as well, in that same area. So there, at times, different times of the day, there are refuse trucks that come in and out. I would urge the board not to feel pressured into giving a conditional permit when this application first came before the board in July. Certainly it is a substantial change of use. The building owner has been a very good neighbor for 28 years. But the building's basically operated mostly 9 to 5, Monday through Friday. So it is very quiet for the neighbors that join the property in the back. My back deck is less than 40 yards from the property line and less than 100 yards from the back of the building. The village engineer and as well as the Department of Planning both recommended that a revised site plan is needed. And based upon the over hour discussion this evening with all the concerns, I would agree with that and would recommend that the village does require a amended site plan. Nothing has been said about the days and hours of operation of the school. That certainly would be of interest to the neighboring property owners. Is it going to be Monday through Friday? Basically 9 to 5, maybe some programs in the building operated to 9 p.m. at night, but it has been relatively a quiet neighbor during weekends. So certainly neighbors would like a lot more information in relation to that. We're concerned about school bus idling. The school buses come in. They may not idle as much in the morning because they just drop the children off. But certainly buses do arrive at schools 15, 20 minutes early, many times in the afternoon, and would be idling next to our adjacent property. We are concerned about any recreation area for the students. Certainly students don't want to be kept up in a building all day long. And there's really no grassy areas that are available for a recreation area. It's just all paved parking lot, and that adjusts the property line. With
Your
the
time is almost up. You have 10 seconds.
Okay. And just one last thing about the current tenants. Lexington Center for Recovery runs the county's former methadone treatment program. So their main services is substance abuse, counseling, and treatment. While they do run some programs for teens, it's mostly adults. And that should be taken into consideration as well, is that a good portion of the clientele are substance abuse recovery people.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, the next person is Andy Benjamin.
Hi, Andy Benjamin, 27 Feller Court. I just urge the board not to issue a special permit. I heard different numbers as to how many kids are going to be there, 60, 50, 75. We have the lawyer says, to the best of my understanding, whenever a lawyer says that, that means they don't know. To me, you have, first of all, the board should get an award, the planning board, for beating a dead horse. This has been going on an hour and a half, 20 minutes in. This guy didn't have the modified site plan. He requested the special use permit. We're talking about children, okay? It's not a legal issue back and forth whether it fits the special use. It's a moral issue. You just don't do it. You should have told them an hour ago, hour and 20 minutes ago, come back with what we're requesting and let's move on. All it's going to do is create more traffic on 59. And you can't tell me that even whatever their religion is, a 14-year-old girl that's having problems in school, they're going to be walking all over the place. Nobody can guarantee that. And it's going to create a problem. Have this guy come back. Do not issue anything till you have a modified, till they have the modified plan, until the building inspector walks in there, and until the fire inspector walks in there. That's all I got to say.
Okay,
Thank you.
thank you. The next person is Trata.
Hi, yes, I live across the street, 85 Route 59 for 32 years. That's not a safe place for girls. The traffic is crazy. They will not respect the red lights of the school bus as they don't respect the on Route 59 every morning when my kids, or now my grandkids go to school. I need to call the police. Trucks are turning to the left, I'm turning to the right. Traffic is crazy. They don't respect each other. You need to tell, sorry, the landscaper company not to park no more there. It's a mess. It's not a safe place for girls with problems. I'm sorry for the girls, but the traffic is crazy. They hit each other, backing up in front, boom, boom. It's crazy. 32 years I'm living there. And I know the traffic from 7 o'clock in the morning to 8 in the night. It's crazy. Cars coming in and out and don't respect each other. And you think they will respect the red lights of the school bus? No. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person is iPhone. Can you unmute yourself? iPhone?
Hi, good evening. Sorry, I didn't realize I was the only one on the iPhone icon. My name is Jacqueline Padilla. I live in Lackawanna Trails. I'm original owner also. I will not waste your time this evening because I've attended hundreds of planning board meetings. I echo what Mr. Brennan said because he knows exactly what he's talking about and he lives directly behind there. I'm catty corner to this building. And honestly, just let them do what they need to do. It's not our hurry because it's their hurry. So let them either find another location that will take them right now so they could start school in, I don't know, 15 days they're looking for, or do the right thing, what your attorney is advising you to do. Thank you all so much. Have a good evening.
Thank you. The next person is Corinne Cohen.
Careful by the thing.
Hi, good evening. My name is Corinne Cohen. I'm at 53 Lackawanna Trail. I'm not going to repeat what Paul Brennan and Jackie have said. I will just want to add that I am also behind 100. I do see many trucks that go through the property, coming through the left, go out the right. I've also recently seen through there. We really need also to take into consideration to the property line of additional noise, pollution as associated with the buses and the idling of the buses and the increased amount of traffic that will come as a result of the school. And you know, as far as noise level, we really do need to be considerate that this is a home back here and that we do want to keep it to the Monday to Friday normal business hours type of operation. Thank you.
Thank you. The next person is Marines 13 Pro.
Yeah, it's Marty Mello, Dan Tree, 219 Cherry Lane in New York.
Can you please repeat your address? Can you please repeat your address?
219 Cherry Lane.
Oh, okay, thank you.
Fairmont.
Thank you.
I just have just a couple of quick questions. If the board does grant this special permit, what sort of liability is the village under? Because if we're giving a special permission before we really know what the layout is going to be, what is that liability to us as a village? as a taxpayer, things like that. Also, my children have been going to that office building. Our pediatrician is in there. The traffic coming in and out of that parking lot is horrible. Although there's turning lanes in the center, things like that, it is very dangerous getting in and out of there. So I would just highly recommend not dismissing what the Department of Transportation is saying, because it is crazy. And then also for the point that no one goes to the back of the building. Again, my children have been going there for, 18 years, and on more than one occasion, I've had to circle the building. Other people have had to circle the building to find a parking spot because there was no parking spot in the front. So I would be concerned for the safety of the girls. And then I am not 100% sure on this, but at one point there was a tenant in the upper part who got reserved parking spots, and it was told that they had to be taken away because they couldn't do that in that building complex. I don't know if that's still true, if something has been changed since then. So if they're thinking of roping off a certain area of parking spots for students to play, I would just make sure you double check with the landlord that it's going to be allowed amongst the other tenants. So those are my only concerns.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, Danielle Meehan is waving her hand.
Thank you. I can't, I don't have a hand raised, sorry.
That's okay. Can you state your address, please?
Of course, Danielle Meehan, 18 Ackerman Avenue, Airmont.
Thank you.
The first obligation that any school has to their students is to ensure their safety. When I look at these plans, and I'm not an expert, but as far as I can tell, the only two doors are very close to each other on the same side of the building. If there was ever a fire or any type of emergency that blocked off those two entrances, there is no other way to get out of there. Does anyone know if the windows on the other side of the building, so the opposite side of where the doors are evacuation windows? Because if they're not, you could really have a terrible tragedy. And as a parent, I would not feel safe sending children there. Even as I happen to work for a school, I don't know in really good conscience how anyone could put themselves in that position. I think it's very unsafe. I'd like to point out, according to the New York State Department of Transportation, in 2016, 14,430 cars on average passed by that area every day. It's a very high traffic area, and that was 5 years ago. Traffic has only increased. There is also a proposed school across the street in the vicinity of this area, which is going to be having buses, which is also going to add to the traffic. And I would like to know if anyone has taken that, if the applicant or their representatives have taken that into consideration. But again, I really emphasize, I think there would be a terrible tragedy if there was, you could have students and staff trapped in there. And I don't think anyone would want that. Thank you.
Thank you. If anyone else would like to speak, please raise your hand either through the computer or visually so that I can see you, please. I do not see anyone else raising their hand, Chairman.
Linda's iPhone, maybe? Would you
I'm
call
sorry?
her? Linda's.
Oh, Linda's iPhone. Thank you. I missed that one. Thank you.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, my name's Linda Pelletier. I live on 5 Cooper Court, Suffolk, New York. I just wanted to also mention that the hospital is right down the road and there's a lot of ambulance activity passing by Lexington Center daily. There's a lot of traffic backup all over the place along Campbell. When the hospital lets out, it's just, I mean, I hope the girls, get what they need, but I think it's a horrible location. Plus, the Lexington Center does treat addiction, and there's a lot of adults there. There's adults there that are out on parole, and I'm just worried about the girls' safety.
Also with gating off an area, I was wondering if that would be a hazard if there was an emergency, if a vehicle would be able to get past the gates to keep it to the school. That's it.
Thank you. Okay. I don't see anyone else unless I missed anybody.
All
Okay.
right. Anybody else? No? Okay, so moving right along. Where's Mr. Zid? Okay, what's our next step here, Mr. Zid?
So it's really up to the board. If the applicant is calling for a vote now, they're free to do that. If the board wants to advise the applicant, on the things that have been discussed tonight, they can do that. They can adjourn the meeting and keep it open. It's really up to the board.
Okay. So, Mr. Baum, I guess I'll put it to you. What is it you're asking for? Let's just get some clarity on this. You have to unmute yourself, Mr. Baum.
I'm sorry. We're willing to come back and present the board with a modified site plan that's going to address the issues that have been raised. But what we're asking for is, in the interim, to give us this conditional special permit approval and allow us to go in there. Obviously, it has to meet all building and fire codes before it's occupied by anybody. I mean, the concerns of everybody with regard to the danger to the occupants, we agree with. We're not asking the board to look away from that. And if the building inspector and the fire inspector say this cannot be safely occupied, it's the end of the discussion. But what we're talking about are site plan elements that can be shown on the site plan. And we believe that this can be safely occupied on a temporary basis, pending you getting that site plan, as long as the building inspector and the fire inspector agree. So that's what we're asking for. But just to answer some of the questions that were raised, Mr. Benjamin wanted to know about the hours of operation. The school will operate 4 weekdays a week and on an occasional Sunday. The hours will be Monday through Thursday from 9 to 4:30, and will operate on Sundays for about 2 to 3 hours in the mornings. So we're not talking about a high use. The traffic, we know the traffic exists, but we're not imposing anything more than what would exist if this was an office building. There would be much more traffic coming and going in the AM and PM peak hours than we're proposing to use it for. So we're not going to increase any traffic. We're not having extreme amount of buses coming in on a regular basis. We're talking about 4 or 5 mini buses coming in the morning and leaving in the afternoon. So, that we're still requesting that the board consider our request for the conditional special permit, subject to us coming back with the modified site plan.
And when could you guys be back for that?
I don't know. I would hope we can get something in within the next 30 days. We have to go out. We've got to retain our engineer, and they're gonna have to show some things on here. We're not talking about a full-blown site plan, so it shouldn't take an extensive amount of time, I would think. So that would be my hope.
And then go ahead. Sorry, I want to say.
I want to make sure we're on the same page. So basically, first to get the fire inspector and the building inspector to make sure everything is safe. And if yes, to grant a special permit, a temporary permit that school can start in time. And in the meantime, you're going to prepare an amended site plan and everything and come back to the board with that. Is that correct?
That's correct.
So just to be clear, that modified site plan would come back before this board,
Yes,
and we'd have to approve that.
yes.
And if not, then it's game over. Like what
And
happens
then
then?
game over, and the space.
I mean,
would be
or you could come back
vacated, and
again.
that would be it.
And is the Robert, is there a time frame when they'll, how much time we can give them to prepare all the paperwork and everything and come back in front of the board?
I think the time can be extended if the board is mutually consenting to it with the applicant.
The code allows for periods of 90 days, but not more than 1 year in the aggregate. So we're not looking for an extensive amount of time. 90 days would be the maximum. And by then we think we can get back to you in 30 days and hopefully get a modified site plan approved within the next 60 days. Sounds like it's a very doable, thing.
I still haven't heard if we can really do it from our legal counsel.
John, I don't mean to be disrespectful, but I've given my opinion several times. I don't think I should give it again.
But my understanding that if the building inspector and the fire inspector approve the codes, then I understood from Robert that we can do so to give a temporary permit. And then like for, let's say, up to 90 days or so till they come back to the board. Is that correct, Robert?
Lou, do you want to comment on the logistics of how this would work?
First, I'd like to comment on the fact that the fire inspector and the building inspector and the fire department have all stated already that they need more exits other than the 2 that are at one end of the building. So what is being done about that? And I'm under no obligation to grant a 90-day anything if there's no other exit in that building. I'm not going to put 100 kids in there or 75 kids and 30 teachers if the 2 exits are 30 feet apart at the same end of the building.
So are you saying that doesn't meet the building and fire code?
And I know the building and fire code is basically the bare minimum. So the building and fire code, I believe, says there has to be 300 people in the building before it requires an extra exit. Are you going to take the chance with 100 kids? Or do we have to wait till there's 300 in there before we add another door?
I think we've made it pretty clear that we're not intending to have that sort of.
I'm asking you because I'm legally responsible for it once I give you a 90-day temporary.
Well, if all we're asking is that if we meet the New York State Building and Fire Code, that we should be entitled to our temporary CO.
You're correct.
It's Suzanne. I have a question. This, if they do the modified plan, do you want them to go to CDRC or straight to planning? Because it's going to need a review. I'll leave that to Lou, John, and Bob to answer.
I think that would be up to the board.
Okay,
It's not up to me.
it's up to the board. Okay.
Well, I guess the question we got to ask ourselves, are we willing to give them a conditional special permit approval? And I'm on the no side.
Okay. Basically, we'll be letting them in for 90 days without the site plan. Obviously, subject to the building.
Without a rear exit with 100 kids in there.
So that's really an issue for the building inspector. This is the first I'm hearing of this, but
In order to make an exit, what will that take? So let's say Lou is gonna have to inspect the building and give an approval before anything, correct, Lou?
Correct.
Is there any way if they can make an exit?
By the time they get that done, they can have the modified site plan done. And then there's no conditional.
Well, there probably
gonna
still
be
would be
far off.
condition of an extra exit.
say that again, Lou?
There probably still would be the condition of an extra exit, even with the modified site plan.
That would be a condition of the special permit?
An exit? I don't know. That's up to the board.
But here we're talking about 40 kids, I understood from them for now, starting off. Is that correct?
No, 65
60
to
to 75 is what I saw.
Are you starting off with that amount of kids?
That's my understanding. Rabbi, is that going to be the
If this
initial
is
enrollment?
gonna open up tomorrow, what?
Yes,
65.
yes, around 65 to 75.
It's not fun.
Yeah, it's not going to start off with like 30 or 40 kids and grow up to the 75. The initial enrollment is going to be the 65 to 75 right from the start.
And I think that the fire inspector read the floor plan and he wrote that it's 119 students with staff, and therefore he recommended a third egress. But he didn't realize that on our narrative, it said that we're only having 65 to 75 students. And we're waiting for him to come and see it and let us know what he thinks. And we're here for the safety of the children. And you know, we know that there are large windows in the back that we could make another egress, I think, at the back if we really need one. But I think as Paul is saying that, you know, for now, you know, for 90 days, if we get this temporary, you know, conditional, then, you know, I think we,
We'll do whatever.
you know, do whatever it needs. You know, these girls need a place to be. We don't want them to be in the streets. And there's really no, as far as we know, there's no other place in entire Vermont or any other place that for these girls to have a school.
Is this a new school? Or is this a brand new school just opened up this year?
Yes, the reason why we didn't go, people want to know why we didn't come in earlier, because we just basically opened up like,
Just
and
pulled
yeah,
together
we
to
pulled it
meet the
together to bring needs now. That's about in January, so there's up to now.
Need that really.
You have been looking for a space, right, Rabbi? And then finally this space came along?
Correct.
So it's not like we had this space lined up the whole time and we waited till last month to come in here.
No.
They've been actively trying to find a location for the school, and this space opened up. And the minute it opened up, we immediately came to the village to seek these approvals. So it's not like we delayed trying to get any approvals here.
Okay. Okay, so again, if we're gonna vote on this, what would the order be? We'd be voting on the special permit on condition?
No.
Write this down.
You gotta do something with the public hearing.
Okay,
I think also, Mr. Chairman, is we've got the comments from the Rockland County Department of Planning that would have to be overwritten or made conditions of the special permit.
right, so what's the, so John, first we close the public hearing?
Well, it depends. If you're gonna vote on it, then you can close the public hearing. If you're not gonna vote, you gotta keep it open.
Again,
Okay,
it's up to the board
whether or not to vote.
whether or not to keep the public hearing open, like John said. John's John's saying the same thing I'm saying.
Right.
But if
So
the
we're
board
gonna
is
take a-
intent, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, if you guys, if us, the board, wanna take a vote on this conditional special permit approval, let's just do a straw poll. Who on the board wants to approve a conditional special permit approval? I do not. I think there's too many open issues, especially after what I heard from the public on the use of the building. And what we heard from our consultants, building inspector, fire inspector, they haven't been there yet. I don't know when they're gonna get there. And knowing that there's only 2 doors in the front and nothing in the back, I'd be very hesitant to give any approval right now.
Okay. Mordechai, where would you be? Where would you fall on this?
I would give them a chance if obviously it has to go get approved by the building inspector, by Lou, and the fire inspector, that it's safe, and give them time to put everything together and come back to our board. So I think that we should give them a chance, maybe. Obviously, if everything in around makes sense, that the building inspector and the fire inspector approve it for now.
Okay. Mr. Glauber, there you are. What would
Yeah.
you be inclined to do?
I would say the same as Mordechai. If it's safe based on the building inspector and fire inspector, and there's a way to do another entrance for it in the long run when it's needed, I will give them a chance.
Okay. Simon?
I wouldn't go 90 days. I would go 60 days to the end of October.
I don't know if we have that option, but
No,
I don't know. Do we? We do? Yeah, we can do any, okay.
We
fine.
can start off maybe with that, and then if that, it takes time to put everything together, between the architect and all stuff around they'll need.
Okay, sorry, I cut
The
you off.
board
Simon.
can
Go ahead.
impose time limitations on the permit.
Okay,
in October, the school is mostly going to be closed anyways. The month of October is the holidays.
We got to keep in mind that as well, Ms. probably maybe to give them a little bit more time because the holidays coming up. Just thinking.
okay. So Simon, go ahead. Finish your thought. I'm sorry.
No. I was expecting the same. I was going to say the same. If it's all dependent on the building inspector and the fire and the health inspector, the fire inspector. So give them a permit.
Okay. Yeah, I think I would also be inclined to agree with what Simon said. It's not a major use change from before. And if they're going to come back in 60 days with a modified site plan, we're not taking much of a risk here. That's how I would look at it.
And again, that modified site plan that Mr. Baum was referring to, that was just for the exterior of the property.
Right. I mean, Lou
Do I
and
understand that
Mr. Martin.
correctly?
Mr. Baum?
Mr. Baum?
Well, yeah, I mean, the planning board doesn't regulate the interior of the space. They regulate the site itself and the traffic and drop-off lanes and everything else. So,
But the site shows what's inside of the property, right? The site
yeah,
review.
I mean, we gave you a floor plan. Maybe I'm not clear on what you're asking, Robert.
Oh, the modified site plan, I just want the record to be clear what the applicant is going to be coming back here with, because it seems like it's just going to be a review of the exterior of the property versus all of it.
Well, the planning board, a site plan never reviews the the interior of a building. It's always the site elements, the parking, the drainage, the traffic, the striping, the water, the utilities, and those types of things.
Emergency exits a very big concern, Mr. Brown.
I'm not saying that it's not, but that's a building and fire code issue that we either comply or we don't comply with. And if we don't comply with it, unless we install a new exit, then we can't occupy it.
You're saying that's for the building and fire inspectors to
Right, so
determine.
I mean, if the big concern here is that the board wants to retain the right to require an additional entrance, we have no objection to that.
What would the point of that be if you're subject to
We will
fire
look
inspector?
and see how we can provide a third means of ingress and egress and address it with our site plan application.
Mhm. Okay. I mean, I think ultimately we would leave that to the building and fire inspectors anyway to determine. Right? But whatever.
I would say we should be subject to, yeah, the approval of the building and fire inspector in compliance with the New York State Building and Fire Code, obviously. Well, I see you shaking your head. You don't agree. I mean, we want your input. We're not looking to try and get anything through or put one over on anybody. So
I understand that the building and fire code, as I just explained, doesn't take a leap for another exit until the number gets much, much higher. The problem I see here is you have one 30-inch door, only one is ADA accessible, and it's one 36-inch door at the back of the building. The other one is up a set of stairs. So anybody who's got issues with a hard time walking or anything else is not going out that exit. So even if you have 50 people trying to get through one 36-inch door, and the two doors are less than 30 feet apart. So if the fire or the issue is in that back hallway, nobody's getting out. There are no egress windows at the front of the building. There are no egress windows on the side of the building. Everything is at the rear because the front of the building is buried.
We'll do our best to address that issue when we come back for our modified site plan.
Thank you.
Listen, I'm sure the applicant shares the concern. Nobody wants to create a situation where anybody's safety is going to be jeopardized. So we will do our best to address that concern. And if we don't address it to the board's satisfaction, then you don't grant us the amended site plan and the temporary CO goes away and we're done.
So you're gonna have students in the school with only egress in the front and not in the back for a period of time.
That is
But you're
true.
concerned about their safety. I just want to make sure I got it.
Suzanne, when is
I want to
the,
make sure I understand.
when is the October?
But
what's
it
the
does,
date of
but it does
the
meet the
October
fire
planning
code,
board meeting?
John.
I
The,
understand that, but you know, these are students, not adults.
the October planning board meeting is on the 24th.
Okay.
Is that a conflict with any of the holidays?
No, the
I
holiday's
didn't
over at
think
least a
so.
week before
Yeah,
that.
I thought it was over. Okay.
And Rabbi Fisher, approximately how many days of school do you think there are between the date you open and October 24th?
Not so many. I would say, I have to the calendar exactly, but
Very minimal in
very
October.
minimal in October
October
and
has almost none.
September. September is we're starting a week late, so we'll be able to get in. And then we have the high holidays,
10 days and
and then
then
10 days, and then the high holidays, and then we have maybe 2 more days and another holiday, and then
another,
we're not,
that's it. We're not, if you're
yeah,
talking about
we're not talking about too many
maybe
days.
15 days.
Maybe 15, 20 days till October, so we get the site
24th.
plan up and running. So we're not talking about too many days in this building. And again, if, the safety is the safety of the girls. And yeah, we'll do, as Paul said, we'll do, whatever we need to do. And we'll, yeah, I think,
So if you come back from the October planning board meeting with your site plan all in order, you're talking about maybe 20 days of school from now till
Right.
then.
Right.
Not even.
Yeah, not even.
Not even.
I think it's at most, so we're not,
Okay.
yeah,
Now I'm just trying to get a little perspective. This is
yeah. So if, if we could grant this thing of just, letting us get into these, setting up, and we will work on the site plan, the modified site plan. We will work on it. And we, tell Paul, and we will, we will get in and we'll do whatever we could.
okay.
Chairman, there are two people who've raised their hand.
Yeah, but I think they've both been on before, so.
Yes, they have. I was just gonna say
Yeah,
that.
okay, unless there's anybody new. I think we even made a motion to close the public comment.
Not yet.
We didn't?
You
Not
had,
yet.
no, not
Nope.
yet, because you were deciding what you were going to do.
Correct.
Okay. So we make a separate motion to close the public comment and then to close the public hearing if we decide to do that? Or is it all one shot?
What are we deciding to do?
So you guys
well,
go around in circles and you don't let the people ask a second
Whoa,
question.
whoa.
Yeah, no, I just want to know if we have to close the public comment before we work on the public hearing, or is that all done together?
You should make a
just
motion.
closed.
You should make a motion to close public comment.
Okay, so that I thought we did already. So let's do that again. Or let's do that. I'll make a motion to close the public comment for this.
Hang on, but will we get another chance if it's amended and comes back again in October?
Yeah, but Mr. Chairman, if I recommend that,
Yeah.
at least with regard to the public hearing on the site plan, that should remain open, but you can close the public hearing
yes.
with regard to the special permit application.
So I don't want to make the wrong move and shut everybody down all of a sudden.
If that's okay with Robert, that was just my suggestion. And this way, the public will have an opportunity to comment when we come back in and file our modified site plan, and they can comment. So
Okay,
with regard to the site plan that we're going to submit, I think the public hearing should remain open.
okay. But in terms of the public comment, the language is to make a motion to close public comment on this hearing? Does that work?
Yes.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second. I'll second.
Okay, so anyone who has their hand raised, you could speak at the next application, which will be shortly. So for now, again, I'm going to turn to you, Robert, just for help.
You have to vote on that motion to close the public
Oh, we
comment.
didn't do
Vote on
that?
the motion.
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Aye.
So no more public comment for this
On,
application.
on this, on the application, on the special permit, correct?
On the special permit.
Yeah,
Yeah, for
Okay,
no
but you're
Samonsi.
keeping the amended site plan open, correct?
We're going to keep that open.
I just want to make sure I have it right for the record.
Just for them to come back.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Okay, so if we choose to, now we're going to vote.
Well, you would have to override all of Rockland County Department of Planning comments.
Okay, so there's 4 of those, right?
There was 4, but
There
those
are
comments
also,
were-
I'm sorry, there are also a number of considerations the board would have to put into the record from the village code. That's section 21097.
just with regard to the GML review, since the board is requiring the modified site plan, there's really no need to override comments 1, 2, and 3 anymore, because those will just be conditions on the special permit that we have to submit the modified site plan. So we're not asking you to override those items. The only other one that's still on the table is whether you want the review by the DOT and the traffic impact study. And I would request an opportunity to speak to the DOT and convince them that they don't really need one once they understand the application. And if they do decide they want one, then we'll do one.
Mr. Cornelius, would you agree with that?
Is this for the final site plan, modified site plan approval?
This is for the,
Yeah.
for the special use permit. No overrides would be necessary.
Your number 5 would also be a
Because
condition.
well, because they're coming back, I would assume, I will agree with Paul on that one.
Okay.
If he wants to talk to the DOT, that's fine. If they change their ways, I'm good with that. If they don't, he's got to do it.
Fair enough.
Okay. So again, Mr. Sid, I'm turning to you for the procedure here. So the plan is to vote on the special permit with all these conditions. How do we word that?
Well, I think the board would have to consider it in order. So 21097A through G, and that would include, you know, conditions, rights of entry, time frame. I think those are things the board would have to consider in order.
Okay, so as to the specific language of this of the motion,
Hold on one second, I just lost you.
sorry, can you hear me?
Oh, can you hear me?
I can hear you, yeah.
Okay,
Can you hear me?
thank you. Yep.
Okay, so again, just as to the specific language of just to move this forward. I don't think we've done anything like this before, so
So Suzanne, what has the board typically done when issuing special use permits?
Uh,
Have they run through these factors before or no?
in line by line?
Right. I mean,
no.
look, I sort of understand where the board is in order to be able to draft some type of resolution, including those factors. So that would certainly be included in the written resolution. But for the purposes of discussing it, I would just ask that it's on the record, particularly since this has been such a contentious application. I think these are things that should be on the record.
Right, so
Okay.
all the items in 21097A through G?
Yes, so prior to approving any special permit use, the planning board as lead agency has to determine the conformity of this use, the proposed development, therefore, with conditions and standards as set forth in this chapter, including the conditions and standards as set forth for site development plans. And the board would go through each of those factors.
so we would have to read them out each one individually. We'd have to read
Well, look,
everything out?
it can be a conversation. You guys can discuss each factor so that it's on the record. Once it's on the record, then you can, you know, consider the Department of Transportation comment if that's the only thing that's left outstanding, and then you can vote if no overrides are necessary.
Okay, so we need to go to 210-97A through G right now.
Yeah,
where
it's
does-
as simple as a conversation.
Okay, so what's in those paragraphs? Where would I find that?
Like, where do you go to find the code on the
Yeah, I
website?
don't have that in front of me, so.
You would have to go to the village website, www.airmont.org.
Okay,
And then at the top, there's a blue line that says codes, excuse me. You would click on the code and there's a search engine and you would just put in 210-97.
okay, so that's what we're gonna do now. We're gonna read through them and
Sure. I mean, John, have you guys done this before?
No.
No.
I
Okay,
think
so
we would
what
usually just
so
say
what
that-
have you done when considering a special use permit?
Usually we don't give conditional special permit approval.
Yeah,
We've
I've
done
never,
it.
I've never seen a conditional. And usually when there's something that needs like a resolution or a lot of overrides, there's the discussion, and then at the next meeting, a resolution has been prepared in advance based on the
That is correct.
discussion of the meeting. And then the board officially votes on it for the interest of time.
Correct.
Okay.
if this helps at all, in my supplemental narrative dated August 3rd, 2022, I address the special permit use criteria A through D within that narrative. So if the board has that narrative handy, maybe they can just walk through those the criteria as I've addressed them.
I think that would be hard to do considering the board hasn't really adopted your position on those criteria.
Well, no, this is for the special permit. Not on waiver of the site plan, but I'll leave it to you.
Okay, this is what was submitted August 4th. There's no date on the narrative, but it's based on the review letter dated July 26th. There's no page numbers, but it's the second to the last page where it's special permit use.
I'm sorry, Mr. Zid, is this the most painless way to go about this tonight?
Frankly, my advice was that a conditional special use permit was not something that we could do. So for me to give advice as to what the procedure should be at this juncture, I feel like it's fruitless.
Okay.
That's why I think we're going out on a limb here.
And I think if the board is going to issue the special use permit, and it sounds like that's what the board wants to do at this stage, it should just operate in accordance with the way it has typically issued special use permits. And again, based on everything we've heard and everything that we've discussed, I don't think it's in the best interest of the village planning board to do it at this stage. But if it is going
I
to.
agree.
I think
I mean,
that we've agreed to come back and accept the condition that we will submit a modified site plan. We're no longer asking for overrides from the county GML, and we'll comply with the, or at the time of site plan, then you can look at all the other comments that have been raised by the various agencies, and obviously it's subject to safe and occupancy pursuant to the code and as determined by the building inspector and the fire inspector. So that's what I would propose as a motion for the board to consider, I guess, if that helps.
I propose this is too hard right now. Make them come back. They're not going to miss that many days of school. Let's do it right.
Now, typically when we do special permits, we don't read the paragraph straight from the code. We've never done that before. So that's really what I'm asking.
Look, so if you're looking for a simple resolution to authorize a conditional special use permit, you would make a motion. The motion would be to authorize a special use permit conditioned upon the following, A through whatever it may be.
Okay, so that would be A through G in 210-97?
No, it would be whatever the conditions are that the board is setting. And I at this point, I don't think there has been any agreement as to what those conditions are.
Well, isn't the condition that they come back with a modified site plan?
That's one of them.
And
We don't know what the parameters of that modified site plan were, though. That hasn't been worked out with the applicant.
We'll submit a plan. If it's not adequate and you want more, then we'll give you more.
And is that plan to be reviewed at the planning board stage?
That's another consideration for the board to.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking. I'm writing them down and I don't know what to write down.
I don't think they need to go back to CDRC at this point.
Okay. But that's up to the planning board.
I don't see a problem with them coming straight back to us.
Okay. So condition of the modified site plan to be reviewed and discussed at the planning board, at the October 24th planning board meeting?
When does the modified site plan have to be returnable to the village?
Well, this is the question. Does it need, if it needs, I don't know that we would need any agency comments. Or do we need, or do I need to get agency comments on this modified plan? If so, it's typically 5 weeks before the meeting. Which would be
After October.
before the meetings, because so I could have the comments on the new modified plan. Because I would have to request it from all the agencies again. So you're looking at, hold on a second. That would be,
I wouldn't think that there'd be a need to recirculate it to all the agencies. They've already made their comments and
okay.
we're not
Okay.
proposing anything significant.
I think just the DOTs, you still need to hear back from them. Is that correct?
We will contact DOT.
okay, and I stand corrected. I think I said October 24th. It's the 27th. It's the fourth Thursday. I was looking at the wrong year. I apologize. So the minimum that when something doesn't need agency comments would be 2 weeks prior. So that would be October 13th. But I think that's in the middle of the holidays, correct?
Yeah, but Suzanne, I think we do need one GML from the DOT. My
No, DOT doesn't
Paul,
do.
am I right?
GML. Rocklin Planning does the GML. DOT is a separate agency.
Oh, okay.
And the agencies have 30 days to comment. So if we did that, then I would need it by, if the meeting is the 27th, I need to get it. Well, DOT does everything, just so you know, electronically. I don't have to put it in the mail.
Oh,
So if I got it on the 27th and send it out the same day, that gives them their 30 days. They're the only agency that will accept digital. The other agencies all want hard copies. The 30 days would be September 27th, but I think isn't that Rosh Hashanah?
Again, I think this is an exercise in futility at this point. The board is either authorizing the special use permit upon certain conditions. I do not think it has the authority to issue a temporary special use permit. I do not think that exists in the village code. If somebody can point me in that direction so that I could review it, I would appreciate that, because I've been pulling at my eyes for the last 30 minutes trying to find it.
I never said that there's a provision in the code that authorizes the board to issue a temporary special permit. They can issue a conditional special permit subject to us submitting the modified site plan and complying with the comments of the agencies, and authorizing the issuance of a temporary C of O upon the certification by the building inspector and the fire inspector that the premises are safe to occupy and they meet the New York State Uniform Building and Fire Code. And that temporary CO or certificate of use or whatever you want to call it will be good for 90 days or 60 days until we come back in October.
Okay, so the board would be voting to authorize the special use permit subject to conditions X, Y, and Z, like I said before.
Yes, I think that would make sense.
Okay, so you just have to get those conditions clear. So let's make sure we have all the conditions. The conditions are one that you have a modified site plan by the October meeting. You hear me? Within 60 days. Yeah.
Yeah, I would say, I mean, it's a minimum of 2 weeks before the consultants can review. If you want the DOJ, I need 30 days. Just for the DOT, excuse me. That's up to you.
Mr. Baum, you think you do it by then? You have about a month.
We will do everything we can to do it, Mr.
So
Chairman.
by September 27th? That's,
About 32
that's
days,
up,
32 days.
yeah, that's if you want the DOT comments, but Paul's also going to speak to the DOT.
Right. Okay. So you have to have your modified site plan within 60 days.
I would recommend to the board that it's set at the very least a condition that Lou Zumo and the fire inspector go there at the earliest possible time to inspect the property. That's one of the conditions that the planning board can set at this point is a right of entry for inspection with reasonable notice. And I would ask that that be scheduled as soon as possible.
Okay. Mr. Baum and Lou, you're on board with that? So we'll make
I'm sorry, Mr. Chairman.
that as one of the conditions of the special permit. Mr. Zumo and the fire inspector will be given rights to come inspect as soon as possible.
Absolutely. We've asked them to come in, so the sooner they can get in, the better it is. So
Okay,
we
so
have no objection with that. We wanted them to come in before tonight so they can report to you tonight, but the sooner the better.
So when we vote to approve the special permit, that's going to be one of the conditions.
No objection.
Okay. So I've got two conditions: that they produce a modified site plan within 60 days, and that the fire and building inspector be given access and what they have to do. What else? Anybody? Any other conditions? Is speaking to the DOT a condition?
If you want it to be.
Again, I think it should be. My advice would be it would have been to have a traffic study, which is what the Department of Transportation has recommended. Given the nature of what the special use is going to be, I think it's significant to have a traffic study. I think another condition should be that the building should be ADA accessible. We have no idea whether or not it is. This is not something that I should be setting. These are conditions that the planning board has a duty to set. So I think it would behoove everyone at this point to discuss what other conditions you guys think you would want.
Okay.
There should be up code to everything of what it requires for this kind of use.
But we have to list what those are, what those requirements are, and what the board wants those requirements.
On the note of the submittal of the amended site plan, I mean, obviously, there should be some language that requires them to actually obtain amended site plan approval. So if they just submit something and decide never to come back again, technically they've met your requirement. So in addition to submitting by whatever date line the board deems appropriate, an amended site plan that they follow up within a reasonable time with amended site plan approval.
That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, I thought that was understood. We weren't looking to just submit and not come back. Obviously, the idea is to submit it for final approval by the board.
Right. You see, saying technically the language would allow that if they submit it and they get rejected, they submitted it and they're okay.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's
Okay. So we'll put that in.
That's not what we intend. Obviously, the board has to be satisfied and actually approve the site plan.
So just going back to the Department of Transportation for a second, in terms of that condition would be what? That we require them to have some kind of new comment subsequent to Mr. Baum talking to them?
Yes, I think we should
There's
get
a condition
in.
that he calls them. That's not the condition, that they speak to them.
No, I think the condition could be that, you know, we'll go to the DOT, and if they maintain their position that they want a traffic impact study, we'll give you a traffic impact study.
Yeah, there were three items in their email: the traffic study, which includes the amount of trips, student population, and overall size. The DOT recommended the existing sidewalk be inspected to determine if it meets ADA standards. If they don't, then the DOT would require this project upgrade the sidewalk. I'm just reading what it says.
Right, okay.
Number 3, the site plan should identify the existing highway boundary, which I believe that would be identified on an amended site plan, correct, Paul?
Yes,
Okay,
right. So.
so it's
I-
really
I-
the first two items he needs to speak to them about.
Right, so I would suggest that we come back and you deal with the DOT at the time of the amended site plan approval.
Right, that's what I was wondering. Why don't we just, we'll see if we want to approve the site plan, pursuant to the DOT's comments then.
So my question is, if something is not gonna be put into the comments now, then let's say when they come back to the board, we can't put anything into our request, like, so whatever we say now, that's based on the approvals, or I understood once they come back, we'll look at it through thoroughly and make sure everything we're satisfied with everything.
Yeah, we're gonna take a look at we're gonna take a hard look at the site plan when it comes, so
Yes.
we'll have the option to approve or reject the site plan based on
Or-
anything.
And then
or
once end of
additional
October comes,
conditions at that
revisit.
time,
Sorry, what?
or impose additional conditions at that time on the site plan.
Right,
Okay, I want to make sure.
that's why I was curious about the ADA accessibility. That can't be part of the site plan approval? That should be built in as a condition now.
I think we could deal with it at the time of site plan.
Or the board can make it a condition.
Okay,
You could do it either way.
either one.
Say, guys, we have not approved site plans with this many conditions. This is.
Well, there's not much here. It's
insane.
just, it's really just a
4 or 5
modified site plan.
conditions.
Yeah, there's not.
It's
there's
not
really-
much. How many do you have already?
I have 3. One of them is that they have to come back to site plan approval, which is unique to this application because it's the
Just 3.
special permit. I have that the building and fire inspector can and should and will inspect, and the ADA accessibility, which would be presumably built into any site plan approval. We're just doing it now.
All right, and we'll address traffic and bus circulation and the third ingress and egress with that site plan.
Okay, right, okay. Okay, that makes sense. Anybody think of anything else? So we're making conditional?
Just, Mr. Chairman, that you authorize the issuance of a temporary certificate of occupancy or use until the October meeting.
That's
assuming-
not a separate resolution? That would be,
I think that's is that not up to Lou to make that determination?
we have to
I-
authorize him to do it?
Unless the planning board authorizes, I don't think Luke can do it on his own.
They can, I think the
I
board
don't
could
think the
make,
board can force me to issue one.
Not force
Only
you,
a
but
Supreme
authorize.
Court
you.
judge could do that.
No, they're authorizing you to issue one.
And you need to fill out a new tenant occupancy permit and we need to do the required inspections.
Okay.
I think the
We'll fill that out
recommendation.
tomorrow.
The recommendation I would make is that any building permits or C of Os that are issued be subject to the satisfaction of the building department and fire inspector.
We agree.
Yeah, we discussed that Lou has to feel comfortable with that 100%, and the fire inspector as well.
So if there's any issues with fire or anything like that, the school doesn't open.
Nope. And we're not
That
granting
was
them
on a
a temporary
contingent.
permit.
Well, legally, I can't issue an operating certificate until the 2 inspections are done, one by me and one by the fire inspector, and there has to be no issues at that point.
Right.
We
That
agree
makes
with
sense.
that.
And you're
Yeah, I
looking
think
at
that's
this as a,
contingent to that.
you're looking at this as an office building or as a school?
I'm looking at it as the use, so it's going to be looked at as a school. Because they're
So
out
they have
there
to have-
for
We're
an
talking about
operating
them getting a
certificate
special
to
permit.
operate a school.
So I want to say, like John said, to make sure that we're only approving it now temporary if Lou is okay with it and the fire inspector.
I agree.
So Lou, there's no rear door. Will you approve it without a rear door? Not to put you on the spot.
Thank you. I wasn't on the spot enough already.
Well, why don't we just leave that to him? He doesn't have to answer that now. He's gonna do his inspection and he'll make a determination then.
Well, it's gonna give us an indication if the school is even gonna open. Remember, safety of the kids, right?
I think that obviously we have to meet the uniform building and fire code before we can take occupancy, and the issue over a third means of ingress and egress will be addressed at the time of the review of the site plan.
So you're gonna put kids in school without a rear access way to get out.
We're putting kids in a space that complies with the requirements of the New York State Uniform Building and Fire Code.
For an office building.
No, for a school of special instruction.
It's gonna be inspected with the special permit, so it'll be inspected as a school. But I think we should let them take a look at it and see what they say.
If Lou would give the okay and the fire inspector, I would be comfortable on a temporary permit for now with.
I don't think he can do that. He hasn't been to the property.
No,
we're just discussing hypothetically if he's gonna give the okay. Absolutely.
I know.
He doesn't have to answer
My
that now.
advice, though, is that it's not appropriate to engage in hypotheticals. We have the planning board has a building, and all of the answers have not been addressed.
Well, that's a condition of the special permit, that it not be occupied until the building inspector and the fire inspector are satisfied. It's one of the conditions of this special permit.
Are there any other conditions that we can conceive of? Anything we mentioned that we missed here?
I don't think that condition of the occupancy needs to be on there. It's a violation of state law if they do occupy it.
I didn't hear that. Someone mentioned that a condition should be, one of the conditions would be that they can't occupy it without. what?
Without an occupancy certificate. It
Yeah,
doesn't need
okay.
to be a condition. It's a violation of state law. They will be violated and sent to court if they occupy it without having it.
Right. If they were gonna do that, they wouldn't have come here at all, so.
You'd be surprised.
Right? Okay. Okay, are we missing anything? Otherwise, I'd like to move on. We can. Okay, can we vote to approve the special permit on the aforementioned conditions? Do we have to repeat them? Mr. Zid?
If the board is satisfied, it can vote, but my advice would be not to.
Okay.
Again, I don't mean to keep repeating myself, but I would not approve anything until the village's consultants are satisfied, and I understand these are being made conditions. But when children are involved, I think it's important to make sure everything is in order before just issuing any type of permit.
Agreed.
Okay. Okay, I hear that. Okay, are we ready to vote?
Do you want me to do a roll call?
So let's just,
Or are you gonna do a discussion more?
no, just finalize exactly what it is we're voting on. We're voting, so I make a motion to, the motion is to approve, that's how it goes. I make a motion to approve the special permit for Benosive Muncie LLC at 159, subject to the conditions that we mentioned before, which was that they provide a modified site plan within 60 days and get their approval on that, on said site plan. That the fire inspector and the building inspector will make their inspections and will be satisfied and will issue whatever documentation they issue to express their satisfaction with the conditions there, and that it be ADA accessible. I don't know if that's the same thing, those two. No, they're two separate things? Okay, so though, yeah, I think that's it. So I make the motion to approve that special permit, subject to those conditions.
Conditional special permit.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that conditional special permit.
Okay, if that's the way it goes.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, Susanna, if you don't mind doing the roll call?
Okay, Simon?
Yeah,
Luisa,
aye. Yes, I agree.
you agree?
Yes.
John Cornelius?
No, there's too many open issues, and based upon what I heard at the public hearing, I would not agree to a conditional special permit approval.
Mordecai?
Yes.
Penny Glover?
Yes.
Chairman Friedland?
Yeah, so based on the fact that they're not going to be there many days until they come back, and they're not making any modifications to the site, and they're sort of desperate. So I'm going to say yes.
Okay, so the motion carries 4-1.
Thank you very much. We'll
Okay, you have a lot of work to do, Mr. Baum. A lot of the pressure's on.
We have a lot of work to do, and we hope we can live up to this tall order and get everything submitted in a timely manner and meet and address all the board's concerns. And we really thank you for the board's extensive time tonight.
Okay, just make sure you speak to Lou and the fire inspector immediately.
Yes,
Get
we'll
things
get
worked
that
out with
permit
them.
in right. We'll get that application in right away, Lou.
Yehuda, can I just ask one question real quick? I was looking back at my prior notes before you made your motion. The DOT review is part of the site plan modification, so it's not a separate item?
Right, we're gonna
Okay.
look at that after Mr. Baum speaks to them. We're
Okay.
gonna take
So
that all
it's
into
not
consideration
listed
at
as a
the-
separate condition?
No, we took that out.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, everybody.
Thank
You're
you.
welcome. Have a good night.
Good night.
Okay.
Okay, that's the first one. We got 4 more, so.
Well, the next item is not an application, it's a discussion on the local law amending chapter 210 zoning to add section 210-13 to provide updates to section 210-174 and section 210-152C, amend 210-152 and E of 210-13R, which are all sections to regulate short-term rentals of residential dwellings for the village of Airmont. And in your packet, it discussed that the Board of Trustees will be having a public hearing, on September 6th. And Robert, I think you can explain why why this has to go before the planning board, please.
Sure. So when there are changes to the zoning code, it's typically referred to the planning board for a report. The report can be whatever comments the planning board has on the draft local law. If you guys want to make changes, you can make those changes and accompany it with your notes. That report would then get sent back to the village board, and the village board could consider it, or it could not. If the planning board does not render its report within 60 days, I should just tell you that the village board can act on it without your input.
Okay. So we should probably discuss what the law is. I read it before. I don't remember all the details. There was one issue or question I had. So let me just give me a chance to find the paperwork. Is everybody else familiar with the law?
Do you know how many places fall into this category? 1, 100, 1,000?
I don't know, Lou, can you answer that?
Airbnb?
I have no idea.
I'm curious to know what prompted this law change. Have there been issues that been cropping up with these short-term rentals?
There's a lot of complaints in the area about it. That's
About what the people have been renting for a week or two, and what?
loud parties, music. Yeah.
Disrupting the neighbors.
Disrupting
traffic.
neighbors. So, right.
Okay.
And it's not a week or two, it's usually 3 days. They rent from Friday to Monday. And, 25, 30 people in a house that is normally designed for 8 to 10. And the garbage and noise and issues with other people are becoming a problem.
So till now, there's been nothing in the law at all about short-term rentals?
No,
They're
none of
adding
the other
this-
villages, a lot of the other villages are kept playing catch up on that too. Clarkstown just passed a law. Pomona just passed a law 4 months ago, and Haverstraw is just passing one now. So they're all trying to regulate short-term rentals.
Okay, so that's basically what this does. It creates the concept of a short-term rental in the law, in the code, and then basically makes them illegal.
I'd say it regulates it.
It regulates it, okay. The one section or the one paragraph that I didn't really understand or had a question about, on this packet, it's on page 2, which is the 4th page, but yeah, the 2nd page of this local law, it's section 5, paragraph C. And it says failure to comply with the direction of any official of the Village of Airmont when notice has been provided in accordance. I think the next word should be with. Is that correct?
Yeah, there were a few typos.
Okay, I'm a bit of a stickler for spelling. So any official of the Village of Airmont, what does that mean? Means anybody who is confused by that term.
Is it defined in the code?
The term official of the Village of Airmont?
Yeah. Hold on 1 second.
Well, Lou's an official of the village. of
Right, but I'm
Airmont.
saying, can Suzanne tell them that
No, I think
anybody who's an employee, or it has to be someone?
I think it's
police.
intended to be for code enforcement officers.
Okay.
Yeah.
So is that clear enough from this language? I just want to.
Hold on 1 second. My computer's.
I just don't like these broad sort of generalizations. And
Oh, look,
I would trust Suzanne, but
again, that would be a consideration, to put in the board's report.
okay. So I'm not going to change this language. I would just say in section 5, paragraph C.
You would define, what does this mean?
Make sure
That
it's
can go
someone
into the
who's
report.
generally vested with that kind of authority, not just anybody who's an employee of the village.
Right. I think it's aimed towards, people like Lou or the fire inspector or whoever.
We're going to want, the planning board members.
So you want them to define
Unless
what
like
the-
Mr.
who
Zid is
the
saying,
officials are that have the authority.
yeah, or unless like Mr. Zid is saying, that's specified elsewhere in the code.
So let's say it's Saturday night. Do they call Lou? Who calls who to get something done?
Or do they call the police?
You call the police?
Yeah, that's usually what happens.
Right, but then it might not constitute a separate and distinct offense.
Right, a noise complaint would normally be generated through the police. The police would get us involved because if the police go there, write a report, they would find out that it's a rental and those people don't actually own the house, then we would pursue it from there.
Okay.
Also realize that this law will probably have somebody going through the Airbnb and rental online registries looking for the rentals as they are advertised so we could get them before they actually rent.
Okay. So
Should we put something in here that residents should call the police to get the ball rolling so they know what to do?
That's in normal noise complaints, that's what we advise you to do.
What is the decibel level? Is there a decibel level in noise?
Actually, there
complaints?
is not, and it's what you or the police verify as a nuisance noise.
I don't know that
Nuisance
that's
defined.
Yeah, I think the board should probably, or the village board should consider
a more defined tool.
Yeah, defining the.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Well, I
The
think
village board should consider what?
A more defined
The
sound
decibel level.
Oh,
or
more-
decibel level is specified.
Okay,
We
more
were
defined
supposed to do that
decibel
4
level.
years ago, it never did.
Yeah, wasn't that, I thought that was part of our comprehensive plan change. It never made it in there?
Yeah. Yep, no, we were supposed to get the equipment and the training from the state and they never budgeted for it and we never got it.
But it's in the code. I know it's in the code because I helped redo the code.
I know.
Okay. but
Okay,
it's-
so what's next?
Okay.
We make a motion to do what? To,
Well, wait, I got one other question.
sure.
I've noticed it's not, I don't know if it's short-term or long-term, but you got people buying houses and they're renting rooms individually to people. Is
What do
there
you
some
mean?
way to put that in here?
No, that's illegal to start with. That is known as a SRO or a short-term, boarding house.
What do you mean? I don't
Full
understand.
occupancy.
I can't have a house. I can't have my nephew stay in my house.
No, you can't rent out
Nephew's
every
fine,
to a
but
different person.
different people.
Can't just rent your spare bedrooms out.
know.
there, Susan.
Oh, okay.
Can't take 5 or 6 different guys and give them a bedroom and charge them.
We just had a drowning on Fella Court from a rental pool because they're renting the house and the pool out. And we
Yeah,
had a drowning.
Suzanne, if you can mute everybody.
I just did. I'm sorry.
Okay,
Sorry, Andy.
okay.
There's no public comment.
Right, we don't get
unfortunately.
that in.
No, this is not public comment.
Okay, so. Anything else that we're concerned with? That was my only concern. It's a bit pedantic, but that's, just how I am. So what do we do now? We make a,
All right, so just
just a
so I'm
discussion.
clear,
What are the-
define in number 5, paragraph C.
see what an official is.
Who the
Yeah.
officials are. And did you want me to put in there about the decibels? Consider more defined decibels.
Well, I don't know if that's what
That's a
the
different
here-
law.
Yeah, this law is just about regulating short-term rentals.
Okay, so then don't bring that up. Okay. Okay,
But the law's on the books, right?
I
This
believe
law
it
is
is.
not,
yes,
which the sound levels.
Town law with the decibels in it should be on the
Oh.
books.
Okay,
yeah, when we changed the code, we did the lumens for lighting and we did the decibels for sound, for noise.
But we never got a light meter or a decibel meter, so we can't enforce either.
okay, so what are we doing? We're referring this to we're approving
So,
this?
so
That-
the motion would be to authorize the planning board clerk. I'm assuming this is something that could come from Suzanne's letterhead, or the planning board's letterhead, to draft a report in response to the draft local law regarding short-term rentals of residential dwellings.
What time of period means short term? It's a day, a week, a month.
It says, they said 29 days. or
29
less.
days?
Yeah. Okay, so I'll make that motion, which is very well stated. Have a second?
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye.
None opposed?
Anybody opposed? Somebody not like this? Okay. Did everybody voted?
Yep.
Okay.
John, I don't know that John did.
John, were you in?
Yeah,
agreement
I'm
with-
good.
You're
Okay.
good? Okay.
Yep.
All right,
Okay.
all right. The next application
Furniture
is
Village?
the public hearing on the Furniture Village, 210 Route 59, conversion of a diner to a furniture store, a proposed amended site plan and signage. And I
Okay.
believe we have, I just texted them to get on. I think
Yeah, I
they
see
got,
Mr. Conway's on.
yes, he's on. The engineer Gdansky and the expediter Bendy, I believe, is on.
Okay.
If you want to give an overview of the project.
Sure. Good evening, everyone. Good evening,
Yeah, we
Suzanne.
apologize for being so
Hi,
late.
Kevin.
We had a
Yeah,
long
it's
one
okay.
earlier.
We'll try to keep everyone awake still with this one. This application, the applicant, Furniture Village, they currently operate in Muncie. They're proposing to relocate from their current location to the what's going to be the former Airmont Diner location as their furniture store. The usage will be it's permitted in the zone, but it'll be less intensive usage by way of customer traffic coming to and from the site. The applicant would have no change. There'd be no addition to the building envelope or to the square footage itself, just merely a reconfiguration on the interior portion. The store itself would include a large showroom, manager's office, and storage in the basement. The applicant would also modernize the outside of the building and install a new sign. The proposed store hours would be from 10 a.m. as they are now at their current location, 10 a.m. until 6 p.m. from Sunday through Thursday of each week, and closing on 2 p.m. on Fridays. The store employs 7 employees, and all the furniture is stored at an off-site warehouse at a different location, which would permit the furniture that would be displayed on site or delivered to the furniture store from the warehouse. So this is not, there's no warehouse usage at the site itself. The furniture would be brought from the warehouse via small box truck as they do currently, and the boxes will be brought in through the front door. There's no changes proposed to the exterior of the property. And as I indicated, only some minor changes to the front exterior portion of the building. We did provide, Mr. Ganansky has the site plan. I'm going to have him go through that. We did also provide just the mock-up of what the building would look like after the exterior work was done, which we provided for your review as well. The Department of Planning had not made any recommendation against the project, merely listing comments. And I went through the comments earlier today and again tonight, and there's no comments that I don't believe require an override. New York DOT also was not opposed to the project, but they did ask for a traffic impact study, despite the fact that the furniture store itself which is a permitted use as of right, would be less intensive and less pedestrian and or foot traffic that would be traversing the site than what currently is the case with the diner. So I just received that information dated August 23rd. So I'll probably speak to DOT should we come back, because this is just a first appearance before the board tonight. But I would like an opportunity to see, I think it was Brandon Roebuck was the engineer, to explain to him that this would be a less, even though it's permitted as of right in the zone, it'd be a less intensive use notwithstanding. So with that, I wanted to, if Mr. Ganansky wanted to speak, otherwise, certainly I welcome the board's initial reaction and any questions. There's no variances required. There's no referral to the ZBA. There's no referrals to the village board because this is a use permitted in the zone currently.
You will have to go to the ARC, right?
Yes.
Okay, yeah.
Okay, Paul, I shared my screen if you want to pull up the site plan.
Sure.
Thank you.
Hold on.
Take your time.
Can everybody see it?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, basically from an engineering standpoint, nothing's going to change to the site on the outside. The large amount of parking that they have is going to remain, and the entrances all remain the same. Lighting remains the same, and the landscaping as well remains the same. There's really, like we've said, there's absolutely no change to the outside, and from an engineering point of view, there's no impact. The use is a much less intense use.
Okay.
You guys need a loading dock or anything to bring furniture in?
The furniture will be brought in through the front, through the front door, through the ramp, the existing handicap ramp.
Yeah, so that we're not indicating a need for that. I know DOT asked about that, but it's certainly not something that we need.
Yeah.
So there are no changes to the exterior of the building at all. I mean, besides
No.
cosmetic changes.
Just cosmetic.
Yeah. You have this the pretty picture here.
And as a diner, it's probably one of the higher intensive uses for parking requirements. We have, more than adequate parking for this less intensive use.
Right. The only traffic issues I would anticipate maybe after the trucks, not with the cars, not with the customers. How often? What's the frequency of the delivery trucks?
I believe when I asked earlier, once or twice a day at the maximum, and it's a small box truck. So this is not, there's not gonna be 18 wheelers coming in. If this was a warehouse, then it'd be a different story. But it's as needed where the item would be brought from the nearby warehouse.
It's
in
on a
box
busy
truck.
intersection, North Airmont Road. On the Airmont Road. Bringing a box truck backing in over there can cause a lot of traffic.
No, it wouldn't really back, it would drive, they would drive in through the entrance that they always did. Even when it was a diner, they had box trucks delivering, you know, food there all the time.
It's a pretty big parking lot, I think.
It is.
You gotta
It
pass it a few times a day, so it's smack in the middle.
Furniture that's in this area, the showroom, it's not actually the furniture you buy, correct? You go to another warehouse where you pick up what,
Correct.
so there's no storage of.
No.
It's not like you're bringing in 2 or 3 tractor trailers of furniture per day. It's for showroom purposes only.
Correct. Yeah, and there's other types of furniture stores that have a combination, but this one, no, it's strictly display only.
When that was presented to us, that's when we kind of agreed that there would be no need for a tractor trailer truck traffic because, you don't actually buy that furniture there. You go someplace else to pick it up.
So the 2 trucks or so, 1 or 2 trucks that come a day is just to populate and stock the showroom?
That's correct. And then that's the most that we were advised that would, on a given day.
So but they do sell out of the showroom then? I'm assuming they're restocking sold product.
They sell out of the showroom, but no, they're not. It gets delivered from a warehouse to whatever location the customer, indicates. So it's basically a showroom.
No, I was just wondering what the trucks are doing there every day. Just keep filling up the showroom. Run out of room.
If they change it, or if they, that's what they
constant,
indicated. I asked for what would the maximum be, and that's what I was told.
But there's not a lot of truck traffic.
No, I would say there was probably more when it was the diner itself.
Do you know what the operating hours were when it was a diner?
Most diners are 24/7, so it was certainly more intensive because this would be 6 days a week and less time on Friday. So
It's not open on Saturday.
No. And they have 7 employees. I asked the max employees that would be there at any one time, and it was 7.
Okay. John, any comments? I mean, I see your comments here, and that's.
Yeah.
Want to run through them?
Sure. This is probably, I think, the 2nd or 3rd review. So there are some other comments that have been addressed. So these are kind of the remaining comments.
Okay.
And since we did our comments, whatever, last week or so, we did get some, so on planning, we did get DOT comments. Am I right?
Yes,
on this?
we got DOT and health. Rockland
Okay.
County Health.
County planning, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
we got the GML and we got Rockland County Health and we got the DOT.
Okay, and the DOT is asking for a traffic study, but you want an opportunity to talk to them to tell them that it's not necessary. Is that my understanding?
Yes, because I do think that when we explain the less intensity, we have more than adequate parking, and that this is not going to be a warehouse, because I don't know that they're aware of that. I think it would make sense.
Okay, and on the county planning department comments, are there ones that we're looking for overrides, or are you okay with all their comments?
I looked, unless I'm missing it, I don't see anything that would require, sometimes you'll have a gray area, and when in doubt, I'll ask for an override, but
Well,
they
they only recommended. They didn't disapprove it.
right. They recommended, but even so, sometimes even with the recommendation, there may be specific items where it requires an override, but I'm not seeing anything right now.
Okay.
Because there's no request for variances.
That pretty much takes care of 1, 2, and 3 under planning, and just 4 is that, we were still waiting for some agencies, so I did not prepare a resolution under seeker, but I think moving forward, we probably will be able to do that perhaps at the next meeting. So under engineering, we do need ARC review, and I think that the sign shows Airmont Dinner instead of Diner. I looked at it, and I mean, it's just a typo, but it's kind of a funny typo.
Yeah.
So you got to doctor that up, and I think we need some dimensions on there for the ARC review for sign dimensions and so forth.
Sure.
And so, you're going to need at least Rockland County Health Department review and approval, and
We got
include
that.
Oh, we got that.
We got
Okay.
the health, yeah.
Okay.
The only one I didn't get back is the Army Corps of Engineer, but I'll be honest with you, I typically don't get comments.
Okay. So even
No,
when
only
there's
if there's a problem. That's usually my experience.
Exactly.
when there's a use change, even though the building doesn't change, sometimes health department wants like an impact fee and so forth and so so that's why we send you there. So okay, so from our standpoint, their comments are relatively minor that need to be taken care of. So we need ARC, DOT, and I don't think a drainage maintenance agreement is required because everything there is existing. So I don't know if we're at like a point to set a public hearing, but if public hearing is required, I would think it is, but if so, then I think we could proceed with that on our end.
Okay.
You said no drainage maintenance agreement is required, correct?
Yes, for because it's existing.
Okay, thank you.
So that's all we have.
Anybody have any questions? Anybody on the board?
No.
Mr. Conway, I'm assuming you're okay with these GMLs, except about the
Yes.
DOT that you want to.
Yes, that's correct.
There's a lot of them, but they seem pretty standard.
The handicap ramp and staying, right? The handicap, the ramp over here.
Yes.
Yeah, it's remaining.
Yep.
What about the snow, number 8? On the GML?
I believe that's, and I'll have Paul check that again, but I believe
It's on there?
currently, I believe it's on, they've had to operate it with that in the prior use. So we'll just
Okay.
make sure that's reflected.
Okay, thank you.
You heard that, Paul?
Yes.
Yeah.
That's not yet in the site plan?
No, the existing site has it, so we're just gonna make sure it's reflected
in the plan.
On the plan.
Okay.
And it's also saying the DSL must be indicated on the site plan, number 12.
Yeah, no problem.
Yep.
The fire department's okay with it, it looks like? Okay. So if there's nobody else, we'll open up for public comment. Have to make a motion to do that?
Yeah, I just need you to make a motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to open up this application. Public hearing for Furniture Village 210 or 29 to the for the public comment. Yeah.
I need a
I'll
second.
second.
A second.
Okay, Paul, would you mind just lowering the site plan so that I could see everybody for the public comment? Thank you. Again, for you, for the public comment, when I call on you, please state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes to speak. The first person I see is Jan Dagenstein.
You have to unmute yourself.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, fellow board members. I'm Jan Degenschein. I'm an architect planner, and I represent the neighboring property where the Airmont Shopping Center is located. We welcome the retail use that is about to be provided there. Just had a couple of points that I wanted to make sure were addressed by the planning board. The first one is lighting. Wanted to know if an isolux diagram has been provided. There's supposed to be cut off from other property lines. Since there's a possibility that the adjacent property will be improved or redeveloped in the future, we just want to make sure that that doesn't become a problem or an issue. The second one is because this is a change of use, I believe that there is some site plan review that would be considered. One of them that I would seek would be some kind of landscaping separating the location of my client's property from the furniture village. A third one is that traffic should be considered from the standpoint of cross traffic between the two properties. Right now, the parcel that I represent is very quiet. We found that we cannot create interest in retail at this point. And I'm glad to see that the easement between the two properties for right-of-way has been honored. I think that even more so for the benefit of the furniture village, those who were wishing to go west on Route 59 may wish to take advantage of that easement, and it remains in place. I agree with Council Kevin Conway that the use is not as intense, and I don't think there'll be as much traffic from this use. But the planning board should consider that once there is a more intense use on the adjacent property, there will be more cross traffic. Those are pretty much the concerns that I have. I just wanted to remind those who don't remember that some 9 years ago, my client embarked upon a change of zone, not a change of zone so much as a use overlay. And we actually prepared, along with the then village planner, zone text to that effect. The village board has since determined that there are other things of more pressing nature that they had to address, and nothing has been done with that yet. We would hope that that would be aired at some point, and that the considerations of its use be part of the conversation in the future. And I thank you for your time.
Thank you.
If anyone else would like to speak, please raise your hand or show me your hand if you can't do so. I do not see anyone else.
No, neither do I. Okay. Anybody else have anything to say? Any questions, concerns, comments? No, okay. So we have to make a motion to refer them to the ARC?
Yes.
Please.
And a motion to, when is the ARC? When is the,
Well, the ARC is on September, tell you 1 second. I think it might fall in the holiday, so I have to check with the chair. It would be technically September 20th.
Susan have to check the calendar.
We may need to move that, so I need to check with the ARC chairperson and the committee. But I'll
Okay.
work with the applicant on the dates, because I know that goes into the holidays.
September 20th?
September 20th, yes.
No,
That's before the
that's
holiday?
before-
Okay, but that's the date. I just need to confirm with the chairperson that that date works, because the last couple dates have not. But that's where it would be. And then the planning board meeting for September would be September 22nd. So there would be enough time, if it is the 20th, for me to do a memo and have it in your, to send it to you for the 22nd. Which means you'd have to keep the public hearing open to be continued.
Right, okay. So, Mr. Conway, you think you'll make it to the September 20th ARC?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. Do you want us to try and continue this to the October meeting?
No, September or October?
Well, after they go to the ARC, they'll be able to make it to our to our September meeting?
If we're on the 20th, you guys 22nd, that'll be fine.
Yeah. Okay. So then we would continue the public hearing we refer you to the ARC and continue the public hearing to September 22nd, 27th, what'd you say?
22nd. But I have a question. I didn't hear who the second was on the motion to refer to ARC.
I don't think I made the motion yet.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
So I'll make the motion to refer Furniture Village 210 Route 59 to the ARC on September 20th, 2022.
Second.
Okay, thank you, Simon.
I would say, or a date agreed upon.
Or a date to be determined.
Or a date to be determined, right? Yeah, there was that question.
All
Okay,
in favor?
aye.
Okay.
Aye.
I,
Thanks
I'll make-
again, everyone.
No, let's
And,
have to make the-
Oh, we're not
let's have
done. We're not
one more
done.
motion.
One more
Yeah.
motion.
To make the
Oh,
motion
yeah, for the,
to continue the public hearing,
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Furniture Village 210 Route 59 to the September 22nd planning board meeting, or is that
Yep,
certain?
And a time. You need to specify the
Yeah.
time.
Yeah, but okay. At 7 PM, either via Zoom or in person at Village Hall, 251 Cherry Lane. Did I get this right?
Charlie Lane.
Cherry, that's what I said.
Oh.
It's the number that I
Tired.
forget. It's 251, right?
I need a second, please.
I'll second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, motion carried 5-0.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you
Okay,
again, everyone.
thank you. We'll see you next month.
thank you.
Yeah, Jan, take
Thank
care.
you.
It was nice seeing you tonight.
Kevin, you're not going anywhere. Aren't you doing the next application?
No.
No?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I thought you were.
Yeah, we were. Yes, I'm sorry.
Getting late. Yeah.
Okay, it's
Getting
yeah,
late.
We're all tired. Okay, the next application is, excuse me, the public hearing for Eisenberger 53 North Lorna Lane for a wetland permit to build a single family residence within a wetland buffer. They submitted a plot plan and a long EAF.
Okay, so I'll make the motion to open this public hearing.
I'll second.
Aye. All in favor?
Well, don't we want to hear on the application first?
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
yes. Okay, I'm sorry. I do.
Sorry,
always get that wrong.
I know it's getting late.
Right.
I just want it, so you could
Right,
hear
Not,
what's
not a motion. We're just
okay,
hearing from the applicant. Okay.
okay.
Yeah, this is greetings again, everyone. This is a first appearance. The applicant seeks to construct a single family residence. It is within the buffer, so it does require site plan approval, variance approval. It's a first appearance. And I don't have my specific file with me, so I don't recall, Suzanne, if it was Mr. Kadansky.
Yeah, it's me.
Yes, it's
Yeah.
Mr. Kadansky.
So I was going to ask Paul to go through the specifics because for this application, it's more intensive with regard to the engineering aspect because we are in the wetland buffer. The single family residence that's proposed, notwithstanding that the unusual aspects of the site, we believe it is not a, we believe that the proposed structure works within the site, irrespective of the buffer, but because of the buffer and the requirements that you have to deduct from the land because of the buffer, it's going to require some additional approvals, but notwithstanding, we think it makes sense. So I was going to ask Paul to go through the specific details.
Sure. You want me to share my screen?
Yes, if you could, that would be helpful.
Go ahead.
So
Paul, if
basically,
you-
we're,
If you
basically,
just indicate where the wetland buffer is first and then just go through the specifics.
well, the buffer is through the wetlands is all back here. So
That's, I just wanted the board to be aware of that.
Yeah, and
It's-
the buffer is based, the whole lot's in the buffer. So no matter
Correct.
what we did, we would require to come before you.
Correct.
So the idea is that we would build a new dwelling adjacent, right next to where the existing house is currently, construct the home and knock down the existing home to create more usable land for them to utilize for their family right where the house is. We'd be
I'm sorry,
using
Mr.
all the,
Gdansky, could you zoom in a bit just on that?
sure. Is that better?
Yeah, much better. Thank you.
Yes.
Yeah, no problem. So the idea would be to knock this home down and build this new structure and create more usable land over here for him to utilize for his family. We'd be using all the existing utility connections, and we'd be adding a dry well because there's a slight increase in impervious coverage. We'd also be removing some non-conforming things such as the shed. And that's about it.
And you can see that, maybe just go around with the hand arrow, just where the wetlands are, so the board can see.
Yeah,
Because
you
I don't
can
know
see-
how large it is with the print, so.
Yeah, you can see it's all around where the hand is going. It goes out here and then also comes back in and then goes all the way here to the head wall and then comes back around. And then goes around the back of the house.
Yeah, so the important thing for the board to know, there is an existing structure there, so this isn't new proposed, where there's been no structure. It'll be situated a little bit further back, so they will have more use of the property itself. And the shed, I don't know if the board can see where the existing shed was.
We're over here.
Right there, that's going to be removed. But as you can see, that the site itself, it's quite a large parcel, but because of the wetland, the configuration, most of it is not usable. So it's as large as it is, we can't, I asked the board just to take note of the fact that the actual size of the lot is quite large, but we can't take credit, of course, for the wetlands portion. So because of that, you get an exaggerated need for the variance approval, and just, just take note of that you don't get the benefit of all the additional size of the lot itself.
Mr. Gdansky, what's the date of those plans that you have up there?
July 13th.
Okay. Thank you.
Because Paul, if you could just pull up the bulk table just for the board certification, because it's a large, oh, I'm sorry, it just went down the acreage you had lower before you get to the bulk. But just so the board gets a pretty good appreciation, it is quite a large parcel.
Yeah, you can see the calculation over here that where it reduces the amount of square footage that we can utilize.
Because the minimum lot area is 35, where the existing is 30,000. We're not changing any of that. The lot width is staying the same. The front yard setback is actually the existing exceeds. We'd be back. We'd be at 50, which is a requirement. We meet all the other requirements, but notwithstanding, it's just you need to take into account that the wetland calculation does have an effect on the numbers.
Plus also the previous dwelling had non-conformities, and the structure we're building complies.
Yeah, because it specifically with the side setback, the existing is not in conformity. The side yard, I think it's at 0%, at 0 square feet. So that would we would cure those two problems that currently exist with the existing structure.
Do you need any variances for this?
No.
No.
Okay. What's the total square footage of the existing structure? Is that on there?
Yes, it is. The existing structure is 2332.
And the proposed, I think we have
5,000.
5,000.
Yeah, 5,000. So the size is bigger, but again, it's not going to trigger additional variance relief.
And no GML was required for this project. It's not within the area. And I did get Rocklin County Sewer, Environmental Health. I did not get back anything from Army Corps of Engineer or the town of Ramapo DPW as of today. And they did pay their wetland fee that the village engineer calculated.
Okay, this might be a question for John. The fact that they're closer to the actual wetlands. Right now they're up, if you scroll down, I can't see the house anymore on the picture. But does that change at all in terms of the buffering? Because before they were much farther away from the actual wetlands.
One of our comments when they initially submitted is, you know, why are you so close to right on the wetland as opposed to, you know, moving the house a little bit further or maybe a little bit, I guess it would be, I don't have the north arrow, but maybe south, at least south on the map to kind of give you a little more buffer, at least a little bit of buffer to the wetland. So it was explained, and maybe they can explain a little further that they needed the side yard area in order to be able to give them the additional, side yard land area for their use. I kind of would have liked to seen it come a little bit further, but they aren't actually in the wetland. It is the buffer. So they have a little retaining wall. We had them adding some details to the plan to, you know, make sure it was clear, but they're not actually in the wetland. They're in the buffer. So from an Army Corps standpoint, there's no permit required. There is no buffer for Army Corps. The village has their own code pertaining to buffers, but the Army Corps, unlike the DEC wetlands, does not have a buffer requirement. So they are not actually doing any wetlands disturbance. So it's kind of important to note that.
As far as the village is concerned, there's no difference whether or not you're 100 feet from the wetlands or 1 foot.
Pretty much, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They're not actually disturbing the wetlands, correct?
Just out of curiosity, it doesn't look like the footprint of the new house is twice the size of the old. It's going to be more floors.
Well, I don't know, Paul, I don't know if you want to go into further depth, but the blue portion is the existing house that once this is built is going to be removed, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. So it might be a little deceiving, but it's a lot more box shaped and it has out, you know, jogs. So, and it's, how many floors is the existing one? 2. So the new one is also 2, correct?
And 2,
We're
yeah.
concerned about a height variance, but they're below that.
Yes.
Okay.
So they meet all the requirements, side yard, front yard, and so forth, zoning, no variance is required. It's an existing lot. So it's, I think, a relatively simple application.
Okay.
John, did you want to go over your secret resolution?
I was unable to print it, so I don't know if you can call it up so I can look at it, because I had a problem with printing. If you want to give me a sec, maybe I can.
Okay.
We did a secret resolution, and I can't seem to call it up for some reason, but basically, pretty much stating that, you know, that we feel that the board can, you know, make a negative declaration under seeker and that there really is no impact. And so we had prepared it for the board to take action on that tonight if they deem necessary.
Okay, yeah, we have it in our packet. Right.
Yeah, it's in the packet. I just have to change some of the names.
Yeah, I was going to say.
Yeah, well, it was a draft because
Okay.
at that time, we didn't know who was going to be here or not.
Okay.
I will make those changes before, if you all are inclined to go through it and make the motion and go through there, then I can make the changes before you had assigns it.
And then,
I'll have the attorney review it first too, and the engineer.
all right, does this require a public hearing, this application?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
so if you want to hold off to the public hearing to, so, you know, do it all in one
Yeah,
shot, you can
up
do
to
that
that,
too.
yeah. It's the right order. Okay, if there's no comments, we're ready to open it up.
And the only other comments I had, again, the fee was paid for the disturbance. And they did add infiltration testing. The village code requires 0 increase in runoff. So, most of the time, I think the applicants are choosing to just try to return it to the ground via infiltration through a seepage pit. So that does require, you know, proof that the ground has infiltration capacity. So we asked that I put a note on the plan to, you know, provide an infiltration test to make sure that it just doesn't sit in the seepage pit and just, you know, basically become stagnant water. It's got to be able to get into the ground.
You heard that, Paul, correct?
Yes.
Thank you.
John, is this going to require stormwater management agreement? I didn't see that in the letter.
I didn't add that, but I think it's been pretty much the policy, and I'm not 100% sure, but that for single family homes, that type of relatively small type of residential single family lot, that we would not require a drainage easement agreement.
Okay, no stormwater agreement required.
Even this size of home, just curious.
You know, again, it is a single family home. It's a large home. There's really just a seepage pit that'll be maintained by the homeowner. And my opinion is to go through the whole thing for a maintenance agreement for a single family home, even though it's a large one, is not really necessary. There's very little infrastructure here. If this was a site plan that involved, you know, lots of catch basins and piping and a stormwater pond and green infrastructure, a whole different ball wax. But this is about as small as it gets. Maybe not the building, but the stormwater design itself is about as small as it gets.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, there's nobody else. Before we open it for public comment, Mr. Gdansky, if you could unshare your screen, please. Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Okay, so I'll make the motion to open this up to the public.
I'll second.
This is Eisenberger at 53 North Funnel Lane. We have a second. John seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Hey,
Okay, again,
Okay.
if you can state your name and address for the record, and you have 3 minutes. The first person I'm gonna unmute is Maureen.
Yeah. Hi, it's Maureen Benedict, One Island Court. I have a couple of questions. How far into the wetland buffer is this house going? What's the percentage that it's going into?
So Maureen, respectfully, this isn't really a question and answer session. This is a time for you to give your comments on the application that's before the board. Obviously, the planning board will take your comments into consideration.
I guess my question is the importance of wetland buffers. I mean, and the impact on someone else's home along the stream. What's going to be, and again, you don't want questions, but is there an impact to the stream itself? Right now, with all the issues with climate change, the wetland buffer is a setback that municipalities are using between a stream and any and the wetland itself to protect homes and to protect any homes from any kind of flooding. Now, I don't know how far this is going into the buffer, but it's kind of wondering why we're allowing homes to be built into the buffers. That house that we're talking about is set way, way back on the piece of property. So I don't know why it's not being moved up a little bit and has to go into the buffer. To me, there's no reason for it. Thank you.
Thank you.
The next person is Millie Melendez, and she's one of the people that I forwarded an email that she sent today?
Okay, here we go there.
Millie, do you want to say anything in addition to your memo?
Yes, thank you for letting me speak. My
Can I have your
concern is,
address, please?
can you hear me?
Yes, what is your address, please?
Oh, I'm sorry. Migdalia Melendez, 45 North Lorna Lane.
Thank you.
The proposed house is 3 houses down from my own home. And my concern is, what is the purpose of this massive house? Like I stated in my email, I oppose the building of a 5,000 square foot home in this area when you have residential houses that are 2,000, maybe 2,500 at the most. By building this massive home, this will become a financial burden on our resources, our neighbors, and our community. So I do not agree on allowing this massive house to be built in this street. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, the next person is Jean Magnolia, is also someone that sent an email in, who I'm going to ask you to unmute, but summarize in your 3 minutes, sir. Go ahead. Jean?
You have to unmute yourself.
Yes, Jean? I don't see him anymore.
Yeah, I see him.
Oh, okay, there he is. Jean, you need to, okay, go ahead.
Yes, it's Mingoya. You butchered it a little bit.
I
but I've been
apologize,
here.
sir.
That's quite all right. Not a problem. I've lived in this home since 1969, and I saw when that house was built in 1969. I can't understand why folks now who have lived in that home for years would require it to be knocked down and doubled in size. My concern is, why is this happening? And ultimately, what is the ultimate goal that they are looking to create by building this home that's now 5,000 square feet? The reality is that home that is there now, there is no way another home could be built adjacent to it, either the south side or the north side of it. That original home would have to be knocked down before that could take place. So my concern is regarding future use and why a home of 5,000 square feet would now have to be built for folks that have lived in that home when it was 2,200 square feet. It just doesn't make sense to me. There's an old expression, if it walks like a duck and quacks like a duck, then it's a duck. So I don't understand why this is happening. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Jean. The next person is Andy Benjamin.
Okay, here I am. Just real quick, I saw that diagram there, and like the other folks, I don't know why, I'm assuming the black part of those lines, the blue part's getting knocked down, and then the black part that's resting right up alongside the buffer, sitting there, why that can't be, I don't know whether that's north, south, east, west, moved away from that buffer zone a little to the right, if you're looking at the diagram straight ahead. That's all I gotta say. It seems to me like the simplest solution, and then just make it a little bit smaller. I mean, because the residents want the backyard right up against the buffer is ridiculous. And, you know, from what I've seen of some time now listening to the planning board and the public comments, I know in my heart, you're not really going to give a damn about what any of the people comment on the public when it comes to Airmont. This is all part of the dismantling of Airmont as what it used to be many years ago. That first argument we had earlier in the night, that was one of the most ridiculous things I've ever heard of. And you didn't take anything into consideration. So that's my comment. That's the end of it. You don't have to comment back.
Okay,
Bye.
what was your number on Fellow Court? Was it 47?
27.
27. Thank you, sir. Anybody else, either raise your hand. Oh, Danielle Meehan, I knew that you were coming next. Go ahead, Danielle.
Thank you, Danielle Meehan, 18 Ackerman Avenue. You know, Airmont's water really is being very dramatically negatively affected right now. The village has unacceptable levels of something called PFAS. It's a chemical that causes cancer, increases miscarriages, destroys your liver. We've had unprecedented number of sewer spills. So we have raw sewage running into our aquifer. The Rampo River, river, which is part of our aquifer, is at an unprecedented historical low because of the current drought. The wetlands is what preserves our aquifers. I do sympathize with the owners of this property. It's tough because I wasn't aware that the entire property falls within a buffer zone. I suspect now a house would never be built there. But, you know, if my children, my youngest are 22. If I had young children, I'd be really concerned about the water. This is what your children are drinking, what they're bathing in, what you're cooking in. You know, more infringement and encroaching is only going to negatively affect the water. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else, please raise your hand. I don't see anyone else, Chairman Freeland.
Okay. Okay, any final thoughts? Anybody, any more comments from the board, from the, John, Robert, anybody?
You'd make a motion to close public comment.
Okay. Oh, let's do that first. Okay, I'll make a motion to close the public comment on this, application. Have a second?
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, no more public comment. Okay,
And I'm assuming this is being kept open? Mr. Conway,
Yes.
this is being kept open to the next meeting?
Yes.
and what about the secret resolution? That's tonight?
Yeah, I was going to ask for that tonight.
Any reason we can't do that tonight?
No, the board can vote on the secret resolution.
Okay, so John, you're okay with this? You wrote this, right? This is
Yeah,
no issue.
yeah, we'll have to.
It's
we'll have
11
to-
o'clock. Can we do it another time?
Well, usually when it's 11 and something hasn't been heard, it's carried over. If we're in the middle or the end, it's up to the planning board if they want to continue and go.
This one, this shouldn't take very long either.
It's just a matter of changing a couple of words in our final thing. So you can go ahead and you can go ahead and make the motion on secret if you want.
All right.
Okay, so I'm making the motion to issue a negative declaration on the secret. That's what we're doing?
Yes.
Well, if I'm reading the, yes, the secret resolution, do you see it, Yehuda? You
Yeah,
are
I see it.
making that motion, and then we have to go through each point that's listed to declare the action unlisted for secret first.
You guys can just, read the whereas clauses.
Yeah,
Okay. So should I read that?
sure, unless you want me to.
I don't mind. Whereas a public hearing was held on August 25th, 2022 by the Village of Airmont Planning Board for the application of Eisenberger, and all testimony was carefully considered. And whereas, with respect to declare the action unlisted for secret and for consideration of a negative declaration as reviewed by the Village of Airmont Planning Board on August 25, 2022, includes the following for the application of Eisenberger. So we didn't make the motion yet.
That's the motion.
So I'll make the motion.
Second,
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. So I don't need to read it now, therefore be resolved. That's, I should read that, or they just fill that in?
All right, a motion was moved by Yehuda Freeland and seconded by Mordecai Grinberger.
If you want a roll call vote, it seemed like everyone said aye.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fine. And that's it.
So what were the two things? Declare the action unlisted and the negative declaration, and
I would just ask that the final
Okay.
written resolution be in a form approved by village council.
Okay, so I'll make the changes to this draft and send it to you
Yeah.
for review.
okay, so the motion carried. So we did declared unlisted,
me
the
too.
neg deck, and the was granted.
Thank
If
you.
you could send it to me too, Suzanne, so
Oh,
I'll
of
get it.
course, I was gonna copy you no matter what, because it came
Okay,
from you.
so next time we do it, we'll
Absolutely.
get it 100%.
Okay,
Okay, now we're going to continue the public hearing. Mr. Conway,
Yes.
when do you think we'll see you next?
Oh, can we come back on that same September meeting?
Is there still room on that meeting, Suzanne?
I have one new application. We have one that's going to ZBA and coming back. We have bonus of Muncie coming back. Oh, no, that's October. Furnitureville, 4, we'll have room.
This will be our 4th?
Yes, this will be our 4th application for September.
Okay, we could do that. I mean,
And there's a lot coming down the pike.
okay, we are prepared.
Okay, we're gonna have a busy fall in the
So,
winter.
Mr. Conway, I think he's going to end up being last on the agenda.
Yeah,
is that
that's
right?
okay, because I have the furniture application
Oh, I
right
see.
before,
Right,
so
okay.
that, that'll work out fine.
Okay. Okay, and by now you're used to late nights, so,
Yes, unfortunately, yes, it goes with
Okay.
the territory.
okay.
You gotta make the
Yeah,
motion.
so I'll make the motion to continue the public hearing for Eisenberger. What's the address?
53 Lorna Lane.
53 North Lorna Lane? Was it?
Yes,
To the,
Yes, I'm sorry. Yes, 53 North Lorna Lane.
to the Village of Airmont Planning Board meeting, which will be on September 22nd, 2022 at 7 PM, either via Zoom or in person at 251 Sherry Lane. Have a second?
Second.
All in
Okay.
favor?
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Aye.
Okay. Have a good night, Mr. Conway. Thanks.
thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank
Take
you. Have
care.
a good night.
Next month.
Any new business?
No, just that we are going to have a lot of applications coming.
Okay,
And that's, I don't have anything else.
okay, just the usual COVID update.
Yeah, when I hear something from Robert or I'll let you know when they get, advised. If it's going to be extended, I have no idea.
The governor's been a little bit better. She's been doing it.
Usually by the 14th, we know.
She's been doing it the day before now versus the day
Instead
of.
of the day of, okay, wow.
That's progress in government.
I wish it was just a blanket statement or an option for the municipality, but I guess it's not going to work that way.
What does your heart tell you, Mr. Zid? How long are we going to be doing this for?
I think for at least another
Forever.
year.
Really?
Another year.
Wow.
Do you really?
I think so.
Okay. Well, between the monkeypox and everything else going on, who knows?
It's a wonder we're all still alive.
The polio, everything else.
Right. Okay.
All right.
Every day is a blessing. Okay.
Yes. All right, I just need a motion.
Yeah,
to
so make the
adjourn
motion
meeting,
to
please.
adjourn the meeting. I will make that motion. Have a second?
And
Okay,
All in
thank you,
favor?
everyone.
Ah, it's a perfect 11 o'clock.
Have a good night.
Everybody, thank you.
Okay, have a good night, everyone. Thank you.
Bye.
Night.
Take care. Bye-bye.